Individually, we are weak, like a single twig. But as a bundle, we form a mighty
I saw you put glasses on backstage. So I thought I might join you.
Well, no, I just put them on for the intro. I didn't take them off to have my real.
I also got these ones as well. These ones are the worst. They look cool, but
I like those. I actually wish you would wear those more on Camel nights. I think they're cool.
They're so annoying because they you see the things right in front of you.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I've made a decision.
Maybe for a little bit I'll wear them.
Go sunglasses shopping soon. And I'm going to get those old school 70s tinted ones, you know, like they start like dark and they go to light, you know, like the ones that Al Pacino wears. And
yeah, I know exactly the kind.
Yeah. I'm going to get those for two reasons. One, so I can wear sunglasses while we do the show and also wear regular glasses. And two, I feel it helps me graduate to the next level of douchery that I'm inevitably going to fall into. So that's my plan.
Step up. Welcome. We have 9 people in the chat, which is a new low for us, but that's all right. We're coping.
9,000 people.
Man, today I woke up in the morning and I'm like, I've got no guests. People have this idea about my show that I'm just like, they go, oh man, I've got guests booked out at like freaking, I don't know, November, right? Because they're like, oh, to get on a Bancroft show, you gotta like get in there in advance. No.
Yeah,
I have no guests this whole week. Actually, I lie.
Tomorrow you're gonna get flooded.
That's all right. I ignore them anyway. I got no guests.
I've taught you well, young Bancroft.
Yeah, so I'm like, what? I don't know what I'm gonna do today. What am I gonna do today? And then freaking Dalkeone falls asleep on a stream for 5 hours. And then Ethan stream snipes it. We're talking like, I don't know, like 1,500 people all together. And I'm just like,
yeah,
you know what? I'll go later. Because there's also the Jack. I wanted to go earlier because I want to test going up when we're not against the Jack show. But I thought, well,
sure,
fuck it. Let's just double jack it tonight it's
a jack off, if you will.
It's a jack off. Look, they're winning right now.
Yeah, but they've been jacking it for years. You know, we just started jacking it. It's going to take us years to coom around.
Say hello to the chat. We got Devilfish. He was first in the chat. I can barely read. Hold on, let me take these off while I do this. We got Fallout Zone. Hail Mo Biggs. Atheline's here. How's your father? People are upset about Super Mario Brothers 3. They don't realize we finished Super Mario Brothers 3. I don't know what you're talking about. We were there at the end. We were all there. We shared the experience together with Bowser. It may not have been the conclusion you wanted, but it is what it is.
But you know what? It's the conclusion you deserved.
Yeah. How many super chats did you send during the?
Not that many. Not enough for me to consider going back. That's for sure. You know,
8 videos that we did on that game.
Also, I feel like that totally falls in line with that show. If you expected anything more, that's on you, bro.
We got Dave Brink in the house. We have Toe Hair. I've been instructed that's the best way to pronounce it. If you want to keep your channel, Bootlegs here. Noijatat, John Alexson, Bredsky the Great. Make me 10. I'm watching my big screen TV. Well, thank goodness I'm still in low definition. I'm going to be able to go HD 1080p when the new internet comes in. So
Are
I'm
you
led
going to?
believe.
Because I know for StreamYards you need to pay for that. It's like $50.
I know. I haven't decided,
I'm
but I'll
not
be
doing
able
that.
to.
I mean, I
Is the
try to even have
decision.
high caliber content on Camel Nights. I'm like, it's not worth $50 a month. Sorry. Sorry,
I don't know.
guys.
I'm thinking more for the videos. I'm thinking more of the videos because I record them in StreamYard, and I wouldn't mind having them be higher quality. Because I do notice that people who have high quality videos, they seem to just, I don't know, those videos seem to do better. That's what I've noticed anyway. Voyager's here, D's here. How you going, D? We got Sam Rogers, and Fox Mulder is happy to have finally caught us live. Bootleg says, I can't wait for you to not finish Contra. Didn't we play Contra? I'm sure we played Contra.
We played and we beat Contra 2. No, Contra 1 and Contra Super Contra. So
yeah,
sorry.
I'm pretty sure that happened. D, you are a legend, my friend. Super chat for the Jack Boys. Thank you so much, D. Oh, and I loaded up a video, but I don't think it's actually, no, I deleted it because I don't think it's needed anymore. The gifted membership seems to be working. I've noticed.
We plummeted.
On other
We're at
channels
like 160
anyway.
now.
Yeah, that's what happens. That's what happens. It's like the rising and falling tides of
We'll see what happens.
I know you feel like you're on top of the world. 200 members. Woo.
I know. And then it's like, fuck you. Also, Sheila told me that she's not going to do the show for a couple of weeks. So that sucks. We have to find either a ringer. Maybe Malin wants to hop in, or we'll just do it. You, me,
not after we like jacked his Jack Show name while he's doing the Jack Show.
Hey, Malin, what else are you doing?
These guys.
Come on back.
Mo says we need an 8K IMAX screen to capture the forehead in all its glory. Yeah. It gets there. It goes big. It goes hard. Being gifted with extra bankrupt, says Paulus Arts. We've got anonymity in the house. What's going on, Camel? What have you been up to today? What time is it where you are? It's like
it's 2:41. I was in the doctor's office. They had to do ultrasounds in my arms. So that was kind of dumb. They had me on blood thinners for years, and they took me off of them. So they have to make sure that there's no clots. And so that's how that works. But so I'm off those. So hopefully that won't be an issue. So I had to do that. I don't know if you've ever got an ultrasound on your extremities, but they like.
I don't think I've ever had an ultrasound.
It's one of the most unpleasant feelings I've ever. Like I've had 2 transplants, and I hate ultrasounds because they take this bar. It's like a deodorant bar. They shove it into you, and they're like shoving it into my groin and my neck. I'm like, it really hurts. So yeah, that sucked. And then came home, started doing packages. I'm probably halfway through the J's. When I finish the J's, I'll be exactly halfway through all of the orders. So hopefully that'll be by tomorrow. We sent out another 100 packages this morning. It might have been more, it might have been 150. So we're getting up there. I have a side table full of international packages, which we'll do last. I don't know how it works for you guys, but in the States, you need this thing called an IOSS number. And it's like some type of tracking things for, out of country packages. So we got to like sign up for one. And I don't really know how it works yet. I'll figure it out.
So have you not done any internationals yet?
No. So I have 2 piles going. One is Australia, which is a box that I'm sending to you. And then one is UK and Germany. The one is from Astoria. It's just like, like random countries that are not here. And
ones that we don't remember the names of.
Yeah. And then we have to get the IOSS number for that. And then we'll send those out. But as far as the packaging is going, like, the cost isn't killing us, which is great. But I definitely think for next time, I'm going to have to jack up Canada. Canada has got to be its own thing. Canada.
What's up with that?
I don't know, but it's just
right there. We get
it's right there.
New Zealand, yeah. New Zealand shipping. New Zealand is actually a 4-hour flight away. There's the Pacific Ocean between us and New Zealand. 4 hours of it. It's not. I mean, it's close, but it's not just across. You can drive your truck over the border close.
Yeah.
And New Zealand shipping is pretty much the same as domestic shipping in Australia, cost-wise.
Yeah, the Canadian shipping, we don't need an IOSS for. But yeah, it's like $25-$30 for a book. I'm like, this is nuts.
Yeah, it's
So yeah,
ridiculous.
we're gonna have to, when you fill out your forms for Indiegogo, you can specify like domestic, international, and then you can have specific countries. And I think I'm gonna specify for Canada, it's gonna be another $10. And I'm sorry for Canadians, but dude, I can't. It's bleeding into the other
Do we not
funds that
have
we have.
a single trustworthy Canadian comic skater that can step up and help out? Because there must be so many.
There has to be someone.
Someone says Dal Keown. I said yeah, like I don't know, he might fall asleep on the job.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's another thing too. It's like you offered. I didn't ask you to be my Australian distributor. So it's like I have to find someone who is going to offer. Like I could considerably just send all my packages to Charlie's London or Chokeout even, but I don't want to burden them with that. They didn't offer. They didn't ask. So, let me find someone who wants to do it and then see if they can do it. But
well, I have an ulterior motive because I have a quota that I need to keep, that I need to reach every year. I need to spend $20,000 at the post office. I know it's not much here and there, sending out things for people, but it's not nothing. I mean, it adds up.
And that's so that you can keep your shipping low.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so that means that the packages you send out on my behalf will be on you.
Well, no, I mean, I will pay.
Yes.
I'll pay Australia Post and then you'll pay me back. So
I think that's fine, except the last part. Let's just keep it where you pay.
We'll talk about that off air.
Oh, okay. I'm confused. I misunderstood. Okay.
I found some fun things we can talk about.
Okay.
I don't know where to start though. I don't know where to.
I mean, like doing this show.
I know it's
so
like
chill.
It's like our very own whatever show. I thought
it's like just it's a shock jock. It's just it's a radio show.
Well, considering we just mentioned him, and it is the topic of the day. A moment in Comic Skate history today took place, and this was the moment. Were you there, Camel? Did you witness this, or you were off at the doctor?
I was sleeping through. I woke up and I saw it. I was like, did he really stream himself sleeping for 6.5 hours?
Yeah. Look, this is the whole thing, right? So we can scrub through it. Oh, that's him. Like he was about to drop.
Yeah, like let's do a show. Does he not know he's live? Yeah.
It's his first ever stream. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't take long. Within half an hour, he's passed out because he gets on and he'd already been. This is how this guy works. He drew for 24 hours or something. Like he's been up 24 hours straight drawing, which is like machine levels. And later on, he says he kicks over his piss bottle. So he just draws and he pisses at his desk.
Oh my
God.
He
doesn't, he's like, yeah. This is what I'm saying. Like these guys on this level, like these top level artists, there's something not right about. There's not everyone is like them, I remember Shane Davis. Well, it's kind of like you have to be a bit kooky to be at this level. I remember Shane Davis telling me that he tore up every single piece of his like traditional art that he ever made. Just tore it up because he said it's shit. It's terrible. Yeah. No one would want it. I don't want it out there. I don't want my name attached to it. It's all shit. This is while he's doing like Superman books and stuff. And he's ripping up the real art. Like there's something extreme about these guys. So yeah, he was like drawing 24 hours and decides he's going to jump onto a stream and he just starts downing shots like crazy. And yeah, he passes out. I don't know exactly when I came into it, but it's probably somewhere around here. Yeah, he was leaning forward. It did not look good for his back. Ozzy Osbourne level. And yeah, I've got the point right here where he gets woken up by his girlfriend. I think he said it is. Dale?
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
What?
Jean asked me check on you. What's going on?
Hmm.
Jean.
Yes, it's that moment. What's happening?
I'm
What?
scared. You drink? Oh my god, don't do that. It scared me.
I love it. He starts to realize what's happening, and he's not like, oh crap. He's just like this. His face goes like this. Like he's loving it.
He knows. He's like,
he-
oh,
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of meme making.
Michael Deecher says he held around 100 viewers. He had like 150 when I was watching. And
Oh
when
my
he
God.
woke
Well-
up, he jumped up over 200.
That was like the first stream I ever did. I didn't know what I was doing. It was just an empty chair, me walking around. I was like fixing the camera. I'm like checking my teeth. Like people are like, "Is this performance art?" And I'm like, I didn't know I was live.
But you got to see it when he finally clicks that he's still live. Is it playing?
I'm really concerned about your drinking now.
Yeah, I'm concerned about
I'm
your
really
drinking.
concerned about your drinking. You scare me every single time now. Jean was asking me,
Where is he?
I don't know.
Oh, no, it's gone. It's too far.
He just sent a message to me. What? You were online, they said that you're drunk.
Look at him. They were saying on Ethan's show he looks like a crazy
Who are you going?
druggy
What?
Who's online?
Abraham Lincoln. No, a
He
hip hop
looks like
Abraham Lincoln.
Look at what
like an alternate timeline Doc Brown.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on.
Oh.
So I'm saying, like, this guy here is potentially one of the most insanely talented artists alive today. And then he's just falling asleep on a stream for 5 hours. It's brilliant. He's such a fun guy too, man. Hanging out with him was a blast. He's just like, this is it. He wakes up and he just can't believe it. Look, he's like, look, 150 people.
Look at-
Are you okay?
I guess I'll keep the stream going. Or...
I'm sleeping. Look
Oh my.
He's so concerned.
Yeah, that's the voice of
Oh.
reason.
No.
It's like, what? You've been asleep for 5 hours
You
with
were just
150
like
people
this,
watching.
everybody can see the whole entire world can see you.
The whole,
No.
well, you know,
Yes.
potentially, but only about 100 people watched.
at.
No. Oh.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
his
it's so
career is
funny.
okay. I'm not too worried about it.
No, he'll be fine. He's the latest Gem Shock thing he did was just, oh my god. It's like,
The cover of it's like
Yeah, let's
Pit
bring
and
that up,
Gem
actually.
Yeah.
yeah. He was saying to Mandy, like, he spent like 4 hours drawing a bicep, and I believe it. Yeah, this freaking, I mean, who does this? Apparently he's coloring it too. Actually, I think he had the colors up. Maybe it's
I saw the
shared.
flats. I didn't know he was the one doing it. I didn't know he could color. I mean, of course he can, but I didn't know he was doing it.
Yeah, I think we remember he did that first piece for yeah, this is him, 44 Numbskull, rendering the highlights, making progress. That first piece he did for, I think it was Salamandroid for Ethan, and Kyle did the colors. He jumped on a call with Kyle and was like giving him some instructions, I guess, on
Pointers?
how to
Oh.
color him.
Yeah.
Because Kyle had never colored Dale before, and it's a slightly different style, I suppose. But yeah, this is friggin' next level.
Is that a stand-in? Is that Dale and Mandy together?
Yes.
Okay, just curious.
And he said he said he loves her like 200 times after he woke up. So I don't think it's any secret. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm just kind of looking at it. I was like, it kind of looks like him. And I always just assume
Let it self
with the
insert.
blonde hair, yeah, there's a lot of. Hey, I'm fine with it. Claude Agent's a total self insert. The real guy's name is Bill Valiant, so I'm like, I don't care. Come at me, bro. I don't care.
Speaking of self inserts,
Ella.
actually, it isn't a
Yes,
self
ma'am.
insert at all. It isn't a self insert at all. What was I saying to? I was saying something to Clark today about something on Camel Nights, and you know what he said to me? Like I said, something about something on Camel Nights or something, and he said, "Did you know that Camel Moon's real name is William?"
I'm so confused. You don't let your son watch Camel Nights, do you?
No, I said, "How do you know that?" And he said, "Mama told me."
Oh yeah.
All right.
They
He probably
were
asked. He's like, he's probably
yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Is his name Camel? That's a funny name."
Yeah, I signed everything Camel when because I'm doing these little like thank you notes with a little head sketch in it, for everyone that I send out, and I sign them all Camel because I'm like, that's what people know me as. So.
All right. What else do I want to look at here?
Did you notice that guy you streamed with 2 days a week for the last 18 months?
Yeah, I think I know. He was telling me he was giving me the straight dish, the goss. Michael says Ella's underwear is my new obsession. Yeah, there's like 20 pages of Ella in her underwear. Paula says Dale is a legend, and Lord Nemesis says Camel gay. So there you go, a little bit of a contrast between the two of you.
But both true. So let's
I want to see what you think of this, Camel. I'll take this down. Jennifer Lawrence says she'll always be paid less in Hollywood because of her vagina.
In contrast to who? In contrast to the other guy who's leading the Hunger Games series, or the other guy who was spearheading the last 5 X-Men movies, or the other guy that was being paired up with a bunch of other A-list talent for romance comedies. Compared to who? Who are you talking to? Because I know I don't make that much in Hollywood. I know a lot of people who don't make that much in Hollywood. It's ridiculous.
I don't make anything in Hollywood.
Yeah,
I make far less than she does in Hollywood. It's the same. It's the same argument that you get that Bill Burr destroyed on the with the the women playing basketball in the WNBL.
Yeah,
it's like this. It's not as if there's I don't know. We have these things called. Actually, I don't remember what they're called, but it's sort of like baseline rates. So, like, if you're an accountant working at, it's called the award. That's what it's called. So, if you're an accountant working at a big company, there's this thing. It's called the award, and it's for pretty much most sort of regular jobs that you might get. Like, so just say, what's the award for a 40-year-old accountant with 10 years experience or whatever? And they'll figure it out, and that's what you get paid. It doesn't matter. It doesn't account whether you're a female or male or whatever. But you can't have something similar for movie actress in blockbuster films. It can't exist because clearly that's negotiated between the agent and the producers, and it has to do with how much it's expected to, like, how much value her name is expected to bring to a movie, isn't it?
right. Yeah, the projected estimate of her box office take-in And so, regardless of whatever she thinks she's getting paid or not getting paid, you agreed to all of it. And unless, I mean, you still probably got to be one of the top 20 actresses in Hollywood getting paid, an obscene rate.
I think she was. I think there was a year where she was the highest paid actor of all of them. I'm pretty sure.
And it's just, I don't know. I'm just so tired of it. It's just like my lobster tail wasn't as big as the other guy's lobster tails. I eat fucking lobster every day for the shut up. I mean, what a stupid fucking,
You're sitting, you're driving through slum town in your Maybach.
Yeah.
You get out and you've got your lobster on a big silver platter and you go up to this guy on the street who's like got his pants halfway down his ass. He's carrying a plastic bag with that week's, grocery shopping. And you go, look at this. Look at my lobster tail. It's only 7 inches long. Now I know for a fact that Chris Pratt's lobster tail is 7.5 inches long. It's because of my
That's
vagina.
total bullshit. And it doesn't account for God, the shit that Chris Pratt has had to go through for the last 3 years. Where it's like everyone wants to cancel him, but they can't because he's too much of a box office draw. And, it's like they hate his conservative values and God forbid he thinks for himself and all this and that. It's just like the whole thing is just so absurd. And then, you see her and it's just like, did you see the whole thing about how she said she was like, oh, I had a falling out with my family over Roe versus Wade. Yeah. It's just like,
yeah, it was. I watched that on Tim Pool. She was like, I send a flurry of texts showing stuff about abortion and all this other stuff to my family,
Republican
and
family.
Then they never respond to me. Yeah, no shit.
Probably because they don't want to argue with you. Probably because they're like, you do you. What is it about the left that feels so insistent upon having the other side agree with them? That I don't get it. I don't, and this idea of like, oh, the nation will collapse if you don't think what I think. That's why we have different states over here. I do me and you do you. And you know what? I've changed states in my life 3 times because I was like, I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to have anything to do with that. We have that option and it's a fantastic option. And so it's like, what are you so upset about? And then they find themselves in these positions where like, oh, our fucking state's going tits up. Let's go to the red states where things are still working. It's just like, they're so fucking unabashedly delusional that it's infuriating that they have any type of megaphone in front of them whatsoever, because everything they say is just pure toxic, volatile acid. And it's like, you know what? You keep saying it. You make yourself look so much worse. You're not going to help your next career, your next role. People are going to look at you and think you're a fucking tart, and you are.
You like to point this out a lot. It's so tone deaf with the inflation, and when the inflation hits, she's not feeling that. It says here she made $10 million more than Chris Pratt in Passengers, and it says pretty sure 20 million puts her in the top 1% of actors. So yeah, she's making tens and tens of millions of dollars. So the inflation is not really hitting her. It doesn't matter to her. But everyone else is struggling, and you're sitting there griping about a completely self-fabricated friggin' problem.
I have a theory, and if you look back to, like, there are certain actors that they have a complete persona shift when there's a major event in their life. So, like, one of them is Bruce Willis. If you watch Bruce Willis, all of his movies, he's a fun, happy-go-lucky kind of guy, right up until I think it's right after Fifth Element. And that's when he got divorced from Demi Moore. And after that, everything is somber as fuck. He always acts like he doesn't want to be there. He's always angry. He's always like, he doesn't know how to smile anymore. There's no like one-liners. And if you look at Jennifer Lawrence, the same exact thing happening right after the fappening. As soon as those pics got out there, she turned into just like this cold, hard bitch. And I think it's because
I forgot about that. Yeah.
And she used to be so bubbly and
The
nice.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
That was her whole persona, wasn't it?
it was like, hey, I'm cool. I'm with it. You know, I'm joking with paparazzi and I'm making fun at the Oscars and this and that. Very self-deprecating. And then it was just serious as cancer. And I think it's because there was no one to blame for the fappening but herself. You uploaded pics of yourself to the cloud and then was surprised in the 2010s when someone downloaded it. And it's just like, well, what the? You know, that's like driving to a shitty neighborhood, leaving your keys in a Mercedes and wondering why your car got stolen. It's like, oh, I wish we lived in a better world, but we don't. And you're accountable for that. You have to be held accountable for stupid actions. You know, it's just like everyone saw my boobs and suddenly, you know, like I'm in trouble. And it's just like, well, I don't know what to tell you. You know, if you were ugly, no one would. I mean, if anything, try to feel flattered over it. But no, she went the opposite direction and got to be a fucking weirdo. And she's been like that ever since. That's my take.
It's a bit funny that actresses, I don't know if she's appeared naked before. She probably hasn't if it affected her so
I don't think
much.
so.
But it's like,
I think they wanted to get her naked in that movie with Bradley Cooper. What's it called? American Hustle?
yeah.
I
Because
think
you know,
that
it's like, imagine, a Halle Berry sex tape is hit. It's like, it's not going to be as graphic as Monsters Ball. Let me tell you
right,
that.
sure.
I mean,
Which is
like-
pretty much a straight up.
We saw
porn.
everything.
Yeah, you see
We saw everything. John Alexson says she says she has nightmares about Tucker Carlson. I saw that as well. Yeah, she's going a bit loopy, isn't she?
Yeah,
She was like, yeah, that was part of that. Yeah.
She's entered that like Hollywood starlet mode where they're no longer relative and they're living in their own head. And you see that with, you know, every so often, every 4 or 5 years, there's another, and it's with dudes too, but it's mostly with women. Once they hit like that mid-30 range and they're not really sought after for those starring roles anymore, she has to come to grips with reality. You know, like actually, you know who's going through the same thing? Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf's going through that for 10 years, where he's just like, you know, really having these come to Jesus moments where he realizes, you know, Jim Carrey did the same thing. And I think she's on the same track, you know, it's just like
Has Jim
he makes
Carrey
so
quit
much money.
acting?
What's that?
Did Jim Carrey quit acting? I heard he was like leaving.
I think
Hollywood
he
or something.
like quit in finger quotes. I think he does occasional things here or there, but I think he's kind of miserable to work with.
Anton says Kevin Smith put Bruce Willis on blast year, said the guy was a nightmare to work with.
Yeah, although I mean,
This is
Kevin
what he
Smith has
said.
turned into a bit of a fairy himself, but
Yeah.
I believe it because Kevin Smith said that before his whole
Oh.
health scare.
Oh, Mo Big says she was nude in Red Sparrow. She said it was empowering.
Never
What do
saw
they
that.
say? What do they say? Free the nipple. Bruce Willis has dementia now. Is that true?
Yeah, so
I know he just
there's
does
a-
these. He does these low budget, kind of like revenge.
Yeah, they were really
movies.
low budget. Red Letter Media did a great sort of expose on it. It's probably about an hour and a half or 2 hours. And it was actually kind of ironic because they did it trying to expose the fact that he was doing these garbage straight to Redbox movies. And they were like, what is he doing? And then it literally came out like a week later. They pretty much had to amend their entire video that he has some type of late stage dementia. And he's essentially trying to get as much money as possible to make sure his kids aren't left in debt.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, but like you could, if you watch
Um,
these movies, he has an earpiece. He's just saying the lines given to him. Everything's one take. He probably doesn't do more than 4 or 5 days of shooting. A lot of it's green screen, like bad green screen. It's actually really sad, but you know.
You know
is
who
what
did
it
that
is.
at the end was Brando.
Yeah,
Brando
that's true,
apparently
too.
refused to learn lines towards the end. He wanted to retire when he was young. He was like, "I'm rich. What do I need to act for?" But everyone wanted him, and they would have to write lines around the set so he could read them. And like, there's very funny interviews where they're like, there's this pause in some movie where Brando's like looking over there, and everyone thinks, "Oh, isn't that such good acting?" It's like he was just looking, he was reading the lines off the wall.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they did that even in Godfather. I think even like the scene where he's talking with Michael in the tomato field or the yard there. I think there's all over the place. They have up on chalkboards his lines. So
Oh, he's Brando. He can do that. Dime Day says he did the earpiece thing in Superman. Not that close in. That's what I'm saying. He wanted to retire when he was young. Like he was. Who was I watching? I think it was an interview with either Laurence Olivier or really stretching the memory now. He was in freaking Julius Caesar in the 50s. So like he was young.
yeah,
And he was like, he wanted to retire. He was like, I got money. What do I want to do with this? What do I want to put up with this stuff for?
the funniest story that I know about him is that he was in Guys and Dolls, and he played the lead. I can't remember the lead's name, but it was the role that Frank Sinatra wanted, and Frank Sinatra wanted the role because his song "Luck Be a Lady Tonight" was sung by that role, and he didn't get it. So Frank was always pissed at that movie. He's like, that movie sucks. And it's, I wouldn't say it's true, but it's like Frank's version of Luck Be a Lady Tonight is 100 times better than Brando's. And it's just one of those things. And, so ever since then, I think, Brando and Sinatra never worked together again because of, I was like, I don't know what that has to do. Like, it wasn't like Brando got the role because he requested it, or maybe he did, but it's kind of interesting trivia.
Speaking of interesting trivia, Bootleg says there's a picture of Brando sucking D. I don't know if I'm going to go looking for that.
Yeah, well, we can't show it on this show anyway.
I'll just have to take your word for it.
Yeah.
What else have I got here? I mean, yeah, today. Pretty big news.
It's the Joker.
It's Joker. Farewell, my dear Chokeout. Fret not, my son, for you are a major now, which makes one very proud. Godspeed, Mom.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
What's your American
one hand taketh, the other hand giveth.
What do you guys in the chat think?
I checked up on him when it happened. When I heard, I emailed him. I was like, "Are you okay, dude?" And he was like, "It's devastating over here." He said people are crying everywhere, and he was like, he said he felt like he lost his own grandmother. I was like, it's different here, because in the States, we don't have anyone that's been around that long in the public life. And, I mean, Carter, maybe. I'm trying to think not people that, not someone that someone is known.
Pelosi.
Well, yeah, but like Pelosi wasn't in that position for, 75 years or however long the Queen was in that position. So it's like, yeah, we have nothing really to compare it to,
Yeah, she's people. I don't know. I don't want to take it away from the UK right now because I mean, obviously, like they're right there. When we went to the UK, we went to Buckingham. We went to the I don't know, the old castle. I can't remember what it's called. You do the whole thing. Your father says, choke out. She was a great shag. I gave her a good piping. It's a slaughter. Yeah.
Rattles her spine, I did.
She met 13 US presidents, and then she saw Biden, and she was like, "Nah,
I'm done. You know what? It's time. I gotta go." Yeah, my wife told me, and I was like, "How old was she?" And she said 96. I was like, "Quit her. She couldn't make it to 100."
I know, he's so close. Mo says, this is a real reason Bancroft delayed tonight's show and started the stream in sunglasses. I'm a fan of the Queen. I'm a fan of the monarchy. And yeah, people don't realize that Australia is part of the Commonwealth.
The British Empire?
Not the British Empire. We're a sovereign nation-ish. But we are a constitutional monarchy. So she was the head of Australia, technically. Like she's the sovereign of Australia. She was. Well, now it's King Charles. So Yeah, it's like I'm all for it. I believe in constitutional monarchies. I think they're
So
a
is
good thing. I
she?
like
Is there
tradition
gonna
and stuff like that.
is there gonna be a big coronation ceremony? I would imagine, right? He's gonna get a big crown and a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
scepter
Well, he's already king. He's already king. That happens pretty much straight
instantly, right?
away,
Yeah.
instantly. And then they'll do a big ceremony. But I mean, he's old too. He's 76.
Well, that's yeah. I was saying that to my wife. I was like, "Dude's gonna be king for 4 days." I mean, I mean, it's like great. All right.
No, I don't know. They're quite old. They're quite long lived. Although her father died youngish.
Yeah, but he had lung
So,
cancer, right? I mean, he had like he had
yeah,
the
he was
lung
smoking.
removed. Yeah.
How's your father? Didn't the Queen fire your prime minister? Yes. Well, not the Queen. Not the Queen. The Governor General, who's the Queen's representative in Australia. So the Queen doesn't meddle in political affairs that directly, I don't think. Very, very rarely. She's more of a ceremonial. It's more the monarchy is the institution. And the whole
Yeah.
idea behind that is the monarchy outlives the trends and the people and all that sort of stuff. So it's like something solid that you can kind of attach government to, a bit like
Right.
how you know gold used to be what the dollar was based on, so that was something real. And I know the monarchy isn't necessarily real, but it kind of is. I mean, it's at least in England, it stretches back 1,000 years to Alfred. You can't 100% track her bloodline back to Alfred, but I mean, you can track the monarchy itself all the way back to Alfred. And that's 1,000 years that they've had a constitutional monarchy going. Well, not a constitutional monarchy. They had a monarchy for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's out of all the different forms of governments, it's the longest lasting and most stable. So there's people here in Australia now who are like, well, she's dead now. It's time to become a republic. I don't think they're going to go very well. People are like really people are big fans of the Queen here. So
Yeah, I don't see. I mean, I get a sense that like of the sadness because from what I understand, you know, especially through all of the Brits' lives, like she's always been this sort of like shining emblem of hope for them. And you know, it always seemed like she was apolitical at the right time and political at the right time. And that's, you know, really important in a leader, right? No one was ever like, oh, this fucking hag again with this bullshit. So
yeah. Well, when she was coming in, when she was young, European monarchies were dropping like flies, and the monarchs of their time were being dragged out of their houses and executed by revolutionaries. So yeah, she did very well to avoid that for her family.
Yeah.
And also come out on top with like people having a really positive outlook on it. And as well, you can see it out there. I mean, you know it was coming. All these you know, types, you know what they're like out there, like saying, oh, she's a mass murdering blah blah blah, just because of her connection to the British Empire.
Yeah.
You know, those types. And it's like, well, whatever side they're on, I want to be on the opposite side of that. And I am.
Yeah.
So but she was pretty based. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, she didn't seem to give a shit. Yeah.
Who's she
and
shooting
it's interesting,
at? Commies?
You know,
Nazis?
At the time too, I remember when Princess Diana died, it was like, you know, they couldn't get her to give a statement and she was very kind of cheeky on the whole thing. And then it comes out years later that like, you know, Diana was hooking up with her writing instructor and she was maybe playing loose with some of the rules. And you're like, I'm not saying I take the Queen's side, but I can see why she'd be like, yeah, I don't give a shit. I'm sorry. Like, you know, like we're trying to maintain an order here, and she went against that, and whatever. I don't know what to tell you.
Kind of like CG.
I've said since the beginning of CG that I felt like I entered into The Sopranos. I was like, all right, I don't know if I'm Christopher just yet, but yeah.
You always watch those shows, those mob shows, you know, and you see the young guys who are trying to go up in the ranks in the family. And you're like, you know where this ends, don't you?
Yeah.
Like,
And that's
every
why
time.
I've always maintained I will not get political in CG. There's no reason to. You're just gonna shoot yourself and just play by the rules. And your time comes when your time comes. And like I don't know if I'm even technically I'm a made guy here. Maybe I don't know, but whatever. I'm still gonna do the best I can do until that spot. And yeah, but you get guys not just in CG, but all over, who are just like, I'm deserved this now. And I'm like, you ain't deserved shit, motherfucker. You're just not. You're not. I know you think you are, but there's a lot of work that goes into it, and a lot of it has to be given to you, but also through meritocracy. And a lot of guys, there's definitely a lot of people, again, in all industries, who just think just because they're there, the dues that they've paid have already been enough dues by their own discernible amount. And that's just not accurate.
Spike likes the shooting gloves. How's your father? Says, wait, no ear protection? She's probably already deaf by that time. So.
Well, this guy here has huge ears. He doesn't wear it.
Oh, that's British.
He's grabbing
God,
all the sound for her,
British people look so British, and I don't know what it is, because everyone's white, but it's like you can tell a white British from a white French from a white German, and I don't know why or how. It's just
I can tell you, Germans are very angular, British are very goblinish, and it's true. I'm sorry, it's true. And
goblinish, yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah. And French are somewhere in between. French have like they're kind of.
I always think of French with like long faces and long noses.
They're kind of gaunt. They're just kind of drawn out. If you put three of them of like the highest definition version right next to each other, I can tell you which was which.
Yeah, totally, and it's the same with Australians too. And I remember I came back. Actually, I was in Germany. And I was heading back to Australia, and I was looking around and I could see the Germans without hearing them speak. And then I looked at a guy and I'm like, that's an Australian.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I just knew it. I knew it. And he started speaking and I heard the accent. I was like, how did I know that? My friend said it's because of the lips. Australians talk like this. We don't really open our mouths too much. We can't talk. All of our lives, our lips, we end up. I got back and I was like, oh my God, you are so true. You have figured it out. You've cracked the code. Australians have no lips. Our mouths just like straight with a line like that, right? It even happens with women too, which isn't good for them because women like big full lips.
Is that where the twang comes from?
No, it's just, I think it's just a result of the way we talk, because the way we talk does affect our teeth and our mouth formation. And Germans, if you ever listen to a German talk, they do a lot of this. They go like that. They purse their lips a lot when they talk, and so their lips kind of stick out. And that's true.
Oh, okay.
And subconsciously we are so attuned to reading facial expressions and seeing these minute, almost imperceptible differences that we kind of pick these stuff up. And yeah, I was totally blown away by that. I was like, wow, it is so true. Like there's something about, like, you can tell a Russian straight away. Like that's a Russian, how's your father? Says Vikings took the hot British women. Ethan had that, had a theory. I mean, it's not his theory, but he's talked about this on his show the other day, that the reason why this, like, they call it LA5, which is like everywhere else is like an 8 or a 9. And he says it's because in the 20s and 30s and 40s, all the best looking women in America went to California to make it big in Hollywood. And, obviously they didn't make it. They just became failed actresses, and they married and had kids, and
that's where they are,
passed on their good-looking women genes. Now, I think that probably makes sense.
Well, there's a lot of that in New York. There's a lot of large noses. There's because there's a lot of
the New York look.
The New York look. Yeah, that's as far as I'm. A lot of curly hair, and it's but it's because there's a lot of money that moves out there from other parts of the world that are oil based, and that's a look. It's just like that's a thing. So, as far as I'm going, as far as I'm willing to talk about it, but yeah.
I want to Google British face to see how goblin it looks like.
Yeah, it's got, the ears are huge, and sometimes it got like no chin and like a big schnoz. You're like, okay. You enjoy a good sheep head.
Well, here's Ed Sheeran. Very goblin-esque.
Oh, Jesus. I'm telling you, man, they all fucking come from caves.
They're unique. They're unique.
The British people.
the British people, the original British that went to the islands, I don't know, like 10,000 years ago, they have not intermixed, even though they've been invaded by everyone. They have kept a sort of unique DNA for 10,000 years on that island. And that's true.
Is a nice way.
That's what they've found out through the friggin' ancestry. Thing.
Unique. Leftover. I think. Maybe no wonder Choco gets laid so much. He's the best looking British guy out of
I know, right? Yeah, if you're a good looking British guy, you could just crush the game.
Oh my god. Yeah. I mean, like, and if you come here, I don't know what his pickup game is here, but I can't imagine. I mean, well, no, I'm sure the accent works great over here. But if he just looked like he did over here, it's like, yeah, you look fine. You're a 6 or 7, But over there, he's probably like a 14. Like you're like, holy shit! And they made guys like you.
Hello, Manaya. Anton says, we talked about this. It's the languages and cultures that affect their appearance as well as genetic selection. Maybe the clothes gave it away. Maybe, but I think people sort of tend to, I don't know. I think it was the face that gave it away for me. Crazy Man says, an Australian and American discussing British affairs. Nothing can go wrong here. Hey, I think I'm more than, well, hang on. Americans, most like, a lot of white Americans are descended from British, and the same goes for Australia. So, talking about the mother country.
Who's this guy here in the bottom row? It looks like a balloon.
Here, I think that's Sadiq Khan. I think that's the. It might not be. This might be. This guy looks like, his eyes look fake, like they've blown it up for a.
They look
YouTube
like
thumbnail.
They look like Muppets. Like, these are not real people.
Apparently they are. Sumo says they can't open their lips because spiders might jump in. We found a huntsman spider yesterday. It wasn't that big.
Did you kill it?
Duck. No, we left it. I put it out. It was in the wheelie bin.
Yeah, I let the kids play with it.
Well, the Clark did. Clark was up close and personal, and it ran away.
Oh yeah,
it's completely safe. Ducklick Germans and Goblin Brits.
Yeah.
What else? What else are you guys saying? Lots of good opinions in here. Antoine says, seems like a lot of good-looking people migrate to places where they can leverage those qualities, accelerating the preponderance of less attractive people in flyover states. So there's an idea. That is a stereotype, and as we do say on this show and on Camel Show, stereotypes are stereotypes because they're true.
Yeah. Although there is, well, I'm trying to think about the flyover state thing. Like, there are decent looking people, but yeah, you're not going to get East and West Coast, looking levels of attractiveness. But like some of the people in Austin were really hot. But Austin, what's that?
Is there like a thing where it's like, wow, you're way too hot to stay here. You've got to go somewhere else. Like you've got to.
Well, I equate sometimes the level of the level of attractiveness with the level of intelligence. And like a lot of times, like this, the hotter you are, the you're dumb as bricks. And so I feel like I can safely say that 99% of the people I met in Texas were some of the stupidest people I've ever met in my life. Like I actually couldn't believe what they would say or what they would think. You know, it was all very like extreme and low value thoughts. And I was just like, oh, you're kind of a moron. And like the educated people had never been out of the state. Like never been anywhere. I was like, all right, you're bimbos. I mean, you're I mean, for lack of a better word, you're complete morons. So
Sumo says the
one man's
British
fault.
are either goblins or Henry Cavill. No in between. Exactly, Sumo. Exactly. I mean, you said it. I know you put a question mark there, but I'm just taking that as your comment. I didn't say it. You said it. Thank you for the super chat, nonetheless. And now Mo says Bancroft didn't say anything too controversial. The British look like goblins. No, that was Camel who said that.
I said that. I'll own that. I have no problem owning that. Sorry. You got a problem? Have a problem.
Yeah, Dee's got it right. We have the Queen and our money. She's the sovereign of our country. We have the Union Jack on our flag. We are definitely cool to talk about the British here. Absolutely. Manai says, you don't kill huntsmen. I completely agree. That was a big thing for Mel and Mel's mum coming here, where they're just like, you see a spider, you kill it. You don't kill a huntsman. It's like they sort of become pets. They eat all the cockroaches.
They're very big, right?
No, not the ones that you get in suburban houses, unless it's a pregnant female.
Yeah,
they're like this big. It's like,
oh, that's still over here. Forget it. I mean,
that would be like kill it with fire.
Oh yeah, nuke the house. Time to go. We're moving now. I actually quite like spiders. You know, like it's supposed to trigger the part of your brain that like freaks out. The butcher it, the medulla oblongata or whatever it's called.
Yeah, one jumped on Clark earlier, a tiny one, but it touched him. For the first time ever, he had a spider on his hand, and he just broke down crying. He was like, "Oh!" and he was terrified. It's like it's something primal, and I remember reading a thing like saying it predates humans, that response. Like it could be carried on through like all the way back to when our far distant ancestors were rats or something. I don't know, whatever the hell.
What's weird is I don't have that at all. I have never ever had a reaction to a spider. I've had reactions to bees because I've been stung by like wasps. I got stung in the eye by a wasp once, and so like I will not go anywhere near it.
Fuck wasps.
They're the worst. But like I've never had an issue with spiders. I see them, I'm like, all right, and I don't even touch them. Like, go eat the bugs. That's why you're here. We put out a little meal for you. But like
they're like little creepy cats. They go around just taking out the trash.
I've never had an issue with him. And my wife, 50-50, but like she used to be all about like gotta kill it, and I'm just like, why? Just let it eat the other shit that we don't want in the house. I'm fine with that.
I know I'm not making videos at the moment until I get my internet back, but I probably wouldn't make a video about this anyway. Because I don't really know quite the angle that I would take, but I'm interested in hearing your angle. Speaking of goblins, poison ivy. Now you are a Batman person, yeah. I'm not. That's why I would feel weird talking about this because
that's it.
Now, isn't Poison Ivy's whole thing is she's a seductress? That's her.
Well, she's seducing cupcakes now. 100 at a time. Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if this is the new Poison Ivy. If this is like a Elseworlds kind of Poison Ivy. Manaya, I'm sorry, hasn't seen this. Yeah, this is a thing. This is a real thing.
It's like, hey, we have a giant green bitch. Let's compete with the She-Hulk or
Oh,
something.
do you reckon that's what it is? Because she looks
Maybe.
about Hulk-sized.
Yeah, like that's the only thing I could think of because they even kind of drew her. It looks a little taller than usual, and maybe they're trying to like rake in that She-Hulk money. But I don't know, that's weird. Not the way to do it in my opinion. But yeah, Pudgy Ivy. I know. We have
They
other
have
pics here.
such a
Oh my
they have
god!
such a aversion to the slender, sexy woman. I just saw a picture of friggin' actually I've got to find it while we chat about this. What the hell was it? Who's that? Adele. Adele is skinny now. Remember that British singer?
Yeah. She did that Bond song.
Yeah. Adele makes me uncomfortable or something like that was the heading, and it was a pitch. She's looking so thin now, and she was big. She was a big girl, like
she was
bigger
really
than that.
big. Yeah.
Here, this is the new. Hang on, this is the new thing. Well, it's not new. It's existed forever, but what's it saying? Hang on, that's not it.
Does she look good though? Like sometimes these big girls get thin and they look like weird. You know, they have like big head, like big faces and small heads, and
maybe, but
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, she has very deep set eyes, but other than that, just could be the lighting. She looks pretty good, I think. Like
I mean, she definitely looks healthier,
especially compared to what she did.
Yeah.
But the title of this thing is Adele's weight transformation makes me uncomfortable. Here's why.
Well, because it proves that I don't need to be a fucking, massive fat ass my whole life, right?
It's a Cope article, and I saw this on a tweet, and someone was like, "Well, it's because it proves that whatever you're going through is curable, but you just don't."
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Antoine brings up Rebel Wilson again. Now, Rebel Wilson was so big that she actually has that thing where she looks quite old.
Oh yeah, she's got like the craggles coming in.
But still, for her health wise, Rebel Wilson wouldn't have made probably 45. Like she would have died. She was that big. I don't think Adele was that big, but definitely she needed to lose a lot of weight.
Well, that's the thing too, that and we see a lot of it. Like, well, my wife does, because she's from the Midwest. My wife is thin, but like a lot of her family is not thin. And it's just like, there's no old fat people. They don't make them. They die. They have massive coronaries or whatever it is. Once they hit 55, their hearts give out. And it's like, her aunts and uncles are getting up there, and she knows people like her aunts and uncles in the past who have passed because of that. And it's just like, yeah, you have to lose weight. And if you are handed the keys to the kingdom and you're a rich, successful celebrity with millions of fans, like, yeah, you want to probably try to have that as long as possible. So good night, D.
See you, D. Show Rebel. All right, I'll show Rebel. Yeah, I want to show off these examples because they they speak to the reason why we're getting chunky Poison Ivy as opposed to how she used to be. And I don't know if you heard this, but apparently there's been a mandate come up from on high to redo the character sheets for their characters. Where's a good pic of her where you can kind of see it on her face? She looks fine. She just looks kind of. That's not a good photo, but you can see it's aged her.
She's someone that is an interesting case study because she looks like a bartender, and if you were to tell me oh, she's a rich, famous, successful actress, I'd be like, you're full of shit. I don't buy that for $1 million.
Well, she's rich and famous because she was always fat, and she made a break in this show here that I just highlighted, Fat Pizza, and she was like the knockout star of Fat Pizza. She was like She was just she was like a secondary character, and she stole the show, and she was called Tula, and that whole Rebel Wilson comedy persona thing was grown, and she's like one of those girls who was probably always fat her whole life, so she had to become funny, and she was like the funny fat girl, and that now she built her talent. So it's going to be interesting if she continues on now that she isn't fat.
Well, she also, I mean, the whole situation reminds me of like Lizzo, who I swear is getting fatter, and like she's gonna be dead in 5 years. She's gonna have a heart attack, and then it's like, how are they gonna spin that? They aren't. It's because she's dead now. She's gonna die on stage, And I'm like, yeah. I
How
mean,
old
like,
is Lizzo?
oh,
we
she
don't
can't be-
really know Lizzo up here. She's not down here. She's not very famous, but we know of her.
She's
Mel and I
dude,
checked
okay.
her out the other day.
She's 34, and she's like what?
Yeah, she's still got another 10
pounds?
years. She's got another 10 years
Lizzo.
now, I reckon.
Wait.
Although the way people are dropping at the moment.
She's 308 pounds, dude. Yeah, so I mean, you're okay. Maybe you're right. Maybe 10 years, but still, like, that's she'd have to start now to lose the kind of weight she would need to like get rid of that, to shed that, to be healthy for moving forward. Like that's going to take at least 5 years.
Yeah, but when
for her
you're
to get
rich,
down to-
you can just do a transformation. Like you can just go, I'm not working for the next 8 months, and I'm gonna have a personal trainer. We're gonna train for 6 hours a day. He's gonna put me on this food program, and it'll all be fine. Mo points this out. He makes the same statement. So does Dave. When fat comedic actors lose weight, they generally a lot less funny. Happens to men or women. And Dave says with fat actors, their entire appeal is often that they're fat. I mean, that was, I think, definitely the case with
Jonah Hill.
Wilson.
Yeah.
That was, when I think of all the funny things that she did, it was all about how, she was like, oh, I'm like sexy, but I'm fat, sort of jokey sort of thing. Once they lose weight, they're just another slender actor, but without being pretty. Well, I think she's probably still talented, but that's sort of the edge is gone now. So
I mean,
this is the.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was thinking about like Chris Farley, right? So like a lot of these guys, if they're if they're heavy actors, part of their appeal in their jokes is that they're the second banana, right? They're never going to be the lead. And so the jokes revolve around a sort of self-deprecation that's there. And if the weight doesn't match the self-deprecation doesn't mean anything. And then that's essentially why they're not funny anymore. And so it's hard if suddenly Chris Farley was like, I'm going to be slim and he's going to look like Adam Sandler. You can't have two Adam Sandlers in the same bit. Like it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Laurel and Laurel. It's Laurel and Hardy, So I would be very surprised if any of these guys were able to lose a lot of weight and then suddenly be just as funny as they were before. I don't see it. Also, this art looks like shit. I mean, what the fuck is this? Is like.
Well, I mean, this is the new direction, isn't it? Like a lot of I think Shane was showing off a book that was what's it called? Like when you farm it out, licensed out, a Fantastic Four book that looked amazing, but it was farmed out to some secondary company. It's like that Disney comic that I've got, which was farmed out to some French genius
the Mickey
artist.
One. Yeah,
exactly. And it's like, it looks crazy good. And now Todd McFarlane's doing the Flash books or whatever. He's paying someone to do it. But like this thing, like they really, really seem desperate to go after that teenage girl market. And I'm guessing their thinking is we want them to feel comfortable in their size while reading this. We don't want them to feel ashamed of their bodies or some sort of shit like that.
No, wrong answer. Feel ashamed. Put down the cupcake. Go on a walk. No, I'm dead serious. Like, a little bit of shame is a good thing, because as soon as you start saying like, we don't want to shame people, and then they turn into big fucking fat asses and they were blight on society. It's ridiculous.
I think the fact that like we've turned away from shame as a social enforcer. It's been a massive problem all around.
Oh yeah,
Like actually, that's
100%.
like become quite prophetic for your channel now that you've got that shame.
I know.
Shame. Like, I mean, so many of our society's ills could be fixed if people were just ashamed to behave in the way that they do. Are you seriously gonna go out looking like that? Are you gonna like speak like that in public? Are you gonna let yourself go that bad? Are you gonna do your job this poorly? Aren't you ashamed of yourself? There's so many things.
Well, the thing too is like it depends where and how the shame is used, right? Because well, I don't want to get into it too much, but mainstream news has been shaming people for voting for Trump and getting puppies for the last 3 years, or not getting puppies, I should say, for the last year and a half, and so they have tried to weaponize that, but they're doing it for their own political ideology. That it's not like they're doing it for the betterment of society. They're pretending it's for the betterment of society, but it's all just sort of like ethereal. It doesn't mean anything. It's but it has been proven over, let's say, last 100 years, right? Ever since modern society, that no, you don't want to be overweight. It's not it's not like a new lofty idea that we're kind of trying out now. It's like, no, that's a bad thing. It's not good for you. It's not good for your community. It's not good for the US medical system. So it's not good for food consumption. It's not good for the planet. It's not a lofty idea. Like there are certain things that I think you can keep around to shame people on. And, they don't want to do it because God forbid you fucking, it's so much easier to get a puppy in the arm than it is to go out and, walk for 20 minutes every day. I mean, it's insane, the amount of ineptitude these people have fallen to.
Antoine says body positivity is also a part of the identity politics these companies are pushing. Yeah, look at any of the like Calvin Klein ads. Friggin' remember Abercrombie and Finch? That was sort of like they were sort of a parody because they were so kind of like perfect, perfectly diverse, attractive people.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just like ugly fat asses.
Well, there was a documentary about that. There was a whole thing that happened in the 2000s where they were only hiring very specific looking people. And then it actually kind of came down to race. Like if you were black or Asian, they were like, if you worked in the store, they were keeping you in the stock room. They weren't like having you out on the floor. And, then they ended up having to pay out millions of dollars. And there was like a class action lawsuit. So now I think they're trying to rectify that and that brand. But of course, they're going complete, full opposite, full retard. And it's just like, well, that's not going to do anything. Just be cool, Like I don't know why they think that like they have to do the complete 180 version of it in order to gain favor again. It's just a waste of time.
Toher says, I'm fat despite the humiliation. I mean, I would weigh legitimately 17 kilos heavier than I do right now if it weren't for Mel's fat shaming, daily constant fat shaming. I mean, it's relentless, absolutely relentless. But thank God for it, because I know it's taking a long time, but I'm trying to get down under 90 kilos. I don't know what that is in pounds, but it seems to be getting closer and closer. Mo says, no, Bancroft, people are still ashamed. It's just they aren't shamed over the traditional things people used to be shamed for. Yeah, like Bootleg says, slut shaming and kink shaming would, I guess, solve a lot. Yeah.
Well, you're probably about like what, 190? I'm 70 kilos, and so that's 150.
Oh yeah, I'm 20 kilos, 22 kilos more than you. 90.
You could bench press me when we hang out.
We could videotape that.
Yeah.
Spike and Madness says Mel needs to double her efforts. 198. So I'm under 200 pounds, but not by much. I need to lose about another 7 kilos.
Most
So,
I ever weighed
whatever
was
that is.
probably about 175. I was like, I looked like the penguin. It was like,
Yeah.
it was all here and here. I had like, I was like,
With George Lucas. I
yeah,
showed
it was
Victoria
the-
George Lucas the other day. It's freaky, his turkey gullet. It's like,
yeah, it was,
it's
and I was
crazy.
like, I didn't care because it was right after my transplant. I was like, just give me the burgers. I don't give a shit. But I went to my friend's wedding and he took a picture of me sleeping, and I was like, that is the filthiest, ugliest person I've ever. I went to the gym the next day and I was like, I am never looking like that again.
That's my maximum. 107 kilos, 235.
Oh, geez.
Oh, actually closer to 236. And that was actually while I was doing these streams. It was probably during the very middle of the lockdowns. That was just like, yeah, I don't know. It was probably a bit, I don't know, like depressed over the whole situation of what was going on in the country, and not looking after myself. And yeah, I was just like, I gotta lose some weight here, because you could really tell. Like, you go back and look at some of those older videos, and yeah, I was a lot rounder in the face.
Yeah.
So yeah, good too. I've lost what is it, 15 kilos since then. So I've got about another 7 to go.
What's up, Charlie? Charlie London here. So I'd say, what's up?
Oh, Charlie's. We were talking about our sovereign
Mum.
ma'am. Charlie's worked for the Queen for 8 years.
I didn't know that until today. She was posting stuff in the
yeah,
group.
she was talking about that. Yeah, that's crazy, huh? I've been enjoying watching the videos of people telling their stories about that they had, their interactions with the Queen. There's a really funny one that's going viral of a guy who, some guy met them out in Balmoral, which is her sort of country retreat, and didn't realize it was the Queen. He was like, "Oh, you've met the Queen?" She's like, "Well, I haven't, but he has many times." and everyone's wondering, like, I hope they can find the guy who they were talking about, because it's going so viral now. They probably will be able to. What does Dave say? You're not allowed to criticize anything that leads to mental and health issues and the destruction of society. You're allowed to criticize white people, men, heterosexuality, and thinking. We're in trouble then. Cars in Depth for $2. Note, there are no men who are healthy at any size. Oh yeah, it only goes one way. It's the whole body positivity thing is very much a woman's.
Yeah, well, like if you look up what like overweight models, what's that line? I even pulled it, and I think it got pulled from me from Twitter, and it was something like overweight men are plus. The headline read, "Plus size women do not want to date overweight men." But it's not overweight women want to date. It's like, well, why isn't the guy plus size? Can't the guy be plus size? It's like ridiculous verbiage.
Right. Plus, I just Googled plus size women.
Do plus size models, and I still don't think you find men.
Okay. Plus size model. Oh yeah, it won't be men. It'll all be women.
So this
but now if I'll do like plus size male model, what does that show us? Whoa. All right, here's one of them. That's pretty even. They're catching up now. Who is modeling this? Like, this is not, who does this appeal to?
Let me see.
No one. This guy.
Well,
here.
I was gonna say, it was like, because men aren't looking at that and thinking I would look good in those shorts. They probably don't care.
No.
Men don't look at ads like that. No. So women are looking at ads like this, and no woman is like, yeah, my fat ass husband's gonna look good in those shorts. You know? go get him some flower briefs.
Anton says, I used to think George Lucas had a goiter. Yeah, it's something. It makes you wonder. Did you get $4 billion? Did you get $4 billion? Can't you get someone to like?
Yeah, he looked like a rooster.
Gobbling.
And it's like, yeah, I don't know. Like, you have all the money in the world, right? You created the most successful franchise in the history of anything, and you still have like this nasally dweeb kind of presence to you. Like, oh well.
I am 5'10". That is correct, Antoine. Yeah, so I think on the BMI thing, I am well in the overweight section. The Queen mum is still alive. No, she died a long time ago. How's your father? Mummy. But now we have a king. Now we have a king. What does Charlie's have to say? What I hate about the modern world is they bang on about positive female role models, but bash the Queen. Your strong female was right there. She worked on tanks. I don't know if you've been catching what people have been saying. They're like basically calling the Queen a mass murderer out there on Twitter. It is very bizarre.
Well, you're always
But,
going to get a group of dipshit, dickheads that were like, it's going to happen. No, that happens for everybody. It happens for everybody. It's like Trump could die tomorrow. You're going to see it. Obama could die tomorrow. You're going to see it.
The empire that the Queen inherited was the world's largest empire in the history of empires on Earth. The famous "the sun never sets" on the British Empire. It spanned the globe.
Yeah.
So they're obviously against all that, even though, in my humble estimation, if you were conquered by the British, I mean, being conquered is, it's not good. It's happened to virtually every single people throughout history at some point in their life. And sometimes at some point in their history has been conquered by some other country. If you're going to get conquered by someone, as far as it all goes, the British are probably, a pretty decent group to get conquered by. There's a lot worse empires out there that you did not want to get conquered by.
Yeah, I don't know about a lot of British, beheadings and rapings and
there were bad, there were massacres and that sort of stuff. It happened, but I mean, in general, and anyway, it's ancient history at this point. Literally, it is
actual ancient.
It's like when people say, "Oh, I'm really affected by the friggin', what happened in the 1600s or something." It's like,
but why? Why are you affected by that?
What else have I got to show off here? Oh yeah, we were a comic book channel, aren't we? I think we still are. Sometimes. This thing just keeps growing. Charles, if you're going to get conquered by anyone, get conquered with class. Yes, they bring tea and scones and crumpets. Exactly. Yeah, this friggin' month is nuts. It's absolutely nuts. If we go back, look at August. Look at July. Yeah, it's been, I mean, things have been happening. It's not like there haven't been launches, but even June. All right, the May was pretty, even April. Yeah, it's been pretty slow going for months and months and months. And then it's just like, you know what happened? Everyone realized, oh, if I'm going to launch before Christmas, I got to launch now.
Yep.
And so, yeah, we had Wraith of God today. Check that out in a second. Loose Threads is happening, well, I guess today if you're in America, later on.
I have to pee. I want to talk about this. I have to pee.
All right. I'll talk with the chat. What is Easton Burkholder? Welcome. Says, if those conquered by the British are now facing problems of their own, it's corruption and greed and lack of utility in their own government. Oh, I know that's the thing. It's like, oh, I was conquered by the British 300 years ago. That's why I'm taking bribes from this oil company in 2022. No. Yeah. And it's that's the thing, that these types out there who were besmirching the Queen's good name out there in the name of colonialism and all that sort of stuff, they only go back a certain point and they only look at a certain people. Like every single, like the British, let's use this, the case in point, the British, the English. How many times have the English been conquered, raped and pillaged over the last 2,000 years? And probably long before then. I mean, there was the Angles, the Saxons, the Romans, the Vikings, the Normans. They've been fighting with the French for, forever. The Germans tried to do it to them again, not too. I mean, it's like, come on. Sumo says, are we really going to point out that this thing just keeps growing, Bancroft? Yes, we are. He says, I'll take the layoff. I just added another one. I added one yesterday and I added another one today, but I don't want to talk about it because Camel needs to tinkle. And we must allow for that. We still have 40 people in here, which is amazing. Rob did a show early. He had like 9 in there. I was like, yeah, it's just one of those days. It's just one of those days. I'll be back tomorrow. I think I'm going to do it. I've got an interesting idea for a show. I'm going to show you guys some of the campaigns that people have requested to come on. And I'm going to show them to you guys. And then you guys can sort of do the whole yes or no. And let me know. A lot of these guys are just happy to have their campaigns looked at on a stream. They don't even need to come on as a guest. I mean, they would like to, but it's always a bit of a gamble.
What are you talking about?
Tomorrow, I've got a whole lineup of campaigns that people have asked to come on the show. I don't really know them. And, obviously a lot of their campaigns are sort of like they're either first timers. They're definitely not professionals or anything like that. So it's a bit like, and, I hate playing the gatekeeper, but at the same time, also want to maintain some level of quality. But I thought I'll just throw it out to the chat. And at the very least, if someone might like it in the chat and say, I'll just go back it now. Manaya says, one day I'll be a guest.
It's a pickle of a situation because you need to be well known enough to get on a stream. But if you're not well known, then how do you get on a stream? And it's like, so if you're starting out, it's like, well, how do you get yourself known? This is what I'm talking about, like being in the mob. It's like you always hear the story, like, well, how do we get noticed by the big guy? Like, well, in The Sopranos, they hold up a card game and then give the money back. It's like there are ways to do it, but unfortunately, there's no set path. Because if there was a set path, then everyone would do it. So really, it's up to the creator to decide how they want to get themselves known. And, for me and Bancroft did webtoons and then made cartoons, and I made cartoons and had been in podcasting for 5 years. So we both had ins that we were able to take advantage of. And so I think it's important for, if you want to be in this space, find that in and make that, like your go-to, what's the word I'm looking for? Exercise, I guess, on how to get yourself noticed. A lot of guys are like, well, I'll just start a channel and talk about Comicsgate stuff. And it's like, well, it's kind of, people are doing that, so try to find something that uniquely separates yourself, but also gets noticed within the community. And that is not anything that anybody can tell you how to do. That's something you have to discover for yourself.
Yeah. And a lot of us, it took a long time to figure that out.
Oh yeah.
So, but I've said it publicly plenty of times. I've said the best way to sort of get in touch with me is to just sort of approach me as like, oh, do you have any advice, or is there, hi, how you going, that sort of stuff, as opposed to I've got a book, check it out. Whereas that I'm much less likely to respond to unless it really is something extraordinary. And if it is something extraordinary, I've probably already seen it. Anton says, here in the States, many native groups only look at European atrocities against the Native Americans, rarely discuss the intertribal warfare that occurred over the millennia prior. Yeah, that was I don't remember what line that was from. I think it was what was that show called? I can't
Right,
remember.
right.
What did he said? Like, we got to hand back the land. Yeah, to who? Is it
Oh,
the Sioux?
yeah.
Is it the what are the other? I don't know, the other tribes in the States, like, because it's been changed back and forth over
Sure.
millennia or however long they've been there. All right, so yeah, so Loose Threads is going tomorrow. Well, today, whatever time it is. Fiendish 2 after that. Cordrath, Narwhal, Cryptidnals, Frog G. It's like bang, 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 bang. John Malin has announced Graveyard Shift Omega. And the day after that, the Alterna Comics Fall 2022. And this is a new one that I have just added here. Elixir. Last
When
Days
is
of Death.
John launching his book?
John Malin,
September. Yeah.
21st.
Oh, 21st. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I
Yeah.
know nothing extra about it. I'm assuming it's like one of his supplementals.
Yeah, that
but
makes
I
more
really
sense.
don't know. But this Elixir one is interesting because this is the guy Armin. This is exactly right. He invited me onto his show, and that's how I got to know him. So I went onto his show. We chatted for a little bit about the Lucent, and I sort of got to see what he was up to, and then that was it. He didn't say, "Hey, can I come onto your show?" It was just like, "That's it. Now we've met. You know, we're doing the dance."
Yeah.
And then after that, I was in a chat somewhere. I think it was on B Rose's channel, and we were talking about how many signups he had, and he only had whoa. Don't want to show that. Why did it go? Have I put that up on? Oh my god! Let me go fix that right now.
I didn't even know what I was looking at, to be honest with you.
It's all right. I pulled it out quickly.
Okay.
Hold on a sec. Hold on a sec. Let me check that. Calendar. Did it click through there? Alexa. Sign up now. It's going to my Twitter direct. That is not what I want it to do. Hold on. All right. Very bizarre. Yeah, my link to the campaign that I was supposed to put up links through to my Twitter, so that's not going to help him out any. Let me just fix that up. Yeah, so I was on B Rose and we were asking him how many signups you have, and he was like 26, and this was right around when we were saying, oh, like, you really want to have 100 before you launch.
Yeah.
So he was just like saying, like, if I get 100, can I launch on your show? And it was just like it was like a fun thing that sort of built up. And then he went out and he sort of turned it into a whole big meme. And then he got 100, and then he reached out and he said, I've got 100. Like, when can we launch? And yeah, so now it's happening. So it's happening on the 23rd. So it's going to be Graveyard Shift 21st, Alterna 22nd, Elixir 23rd. It's like every single week there's 3 or 4 launching. It's getting pretty crazy.
I worry, though, sort of a controversial topic, but there are campaigns that have not funded, and there are campaigns that look like they might not fund, within the next week or two.
Yeah.
And like, all of them launched on your channel. So are you really to blame?
Am I to blame? Is it your fault? Did you screw these guys over?
No, I don't mean that at all. No, but I wonder, like, God, if there's too many campaigns and people can't back them all, like, is it maybe not a good idea to have so many launch back to back? Or is it because there's not a certain interest in these types of campaigns? I feel like, I don't know if there's an answer, but I don't think it looks good for crowdfunding as a whole if there's like this slump of campaigns that are
the
not getting
slump,
funded,
as we're calling it
yeah.
from now on.
Went from the bump to the slump. Yeah, I was kidding about that, everyone. By the way.
I don't really look at it like that. I know you do. I know a bunch of
No,
others do as well.
I don't. I question it. I'm just open minded to it. I'm not trying to pivot one way or another. I'm just kind of raising.
My answer to that, and yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it does. It's a link to the Twitter messages. Why on earth would I do that? Okay, I've just updated it, so it should now link through to the right thing. My answer to that is as opposed to what, and what I mean by that is there's always been I don't know what the actual rate is. I think it was hovering around 50%, 40% fail rate on a comic book campaign. I think that has always existed. And I think that came from when it was on Kickstarter. And then when Comicsgate started at its initial burst, I think that jumped all the way up. I don't know how high it got, but it became a thing. Like, if your Comicsgate will get you funded, it was sort of like a thing, and it was kind of a rallying cry. I didn't think it was 100% accurate, and even if it was, it didn't mean that the guaranteed you were going to get the books. But I think from that initial burst, whether it jumped up from 40% to, let's say, like 80% get funded, that was an anomaly. And ever since then, I think it's slowly been going back down to what is the reality of the situation, where I think it's probably now maybe, I don't know what it is, maybe back to 40% don't get funded. I don't know what the actual numbers is, but I'm pretty sure that's the sort of norm in comics. And I take no responsibility for any of these campaigns funding
nor
or
should
not.
You. I mean,
but it's sort of like, I'm happy that I can be a platform for campaigns, sort of big and small, if they want to. You know, if a big campaign wanted to launch on my show, I'd be super honored and very happy to do it. A lot, some of them have access to even much bigger shows, so they go off and do that, and that's perfectly acceptable and reasonable. But I enjoy doing the launches. They're probably my most favorite shows, and they're great content. And I'm happy to continue to do it. I'm happy that I have a show that facilitates that in the broader community. But it's just the reality of it. I can't be out there building up the buzz for these things months in advance and then months afterwards either. After the hour's up, it's on you.
No, I get that it's not on you. I'm not saying it is. I just think that I would be trepidatious to launch and then not I'm trying to think how to put this. You want to make sure that you're just, like you said, firing on all cylinders, right? And promoting yourself 100% after the fact and up to it. And I also think too that maybe some of these campaigns are asking for too much up front. And I understand that there's into that. Because you said let's not, or let's.
No, let's get into that.
Oh, okay. Because if you're like, oh, I need 10 grand or I need whatever it is, let's just arbitrarily come up with a number. It's difficult because, yes, you might actually need that to make the book, but if you're not working the algorithm a little bit and getting funded early, it doesn't instill confidence in future backers to get you to that your actual goal later on. And that's just kind of an unfortunate reality that people have to deal with. But it's like, hey, if there are certain books that, God, they genuinely, the person making the campaign might not actually make money until they hit 30, 40, 50 grand. And so it's like, it might be nice if it's backed, if it looks like it's full, at 5 grand or 10 grand, everything's going to happen. But you know, you got to pay the writer, you got to pay for the prints, you got to pay the taxes, you got to pay the shipping, you got to pay for, you know, everything. And so, like, you know, what's left over on a campaign, if you are not doing it all yourself, is going to be very minimal. So, you know, it's kind of like this ebb and flow of what we have to expect to fulfill. And it's almost like a conversation people don't want to have, I think.
It's a catch-22 for unknown creators, and that's probably why they don't want to address it or talk about it as openly as they otherwise should, because there's no easy solution. I mean,
Yeah.
it's sort of like when someone says to me, how do I get better at my art? I say, well, go draw for 10 hours a day for 20 years.
Yeah, right. It's not an answer.
It's like, that's not, it's not
Like,
an answer.
okay.
It's like, yeah, like how do I get a bigger name? Well, be super charismatic and go out and be on YouTube every day for 2 years, and then
Yeah.
like see how you go. And if it's going well, keep doing that. If it's not, try something new. It might not go well. Like it's like well, I'm trying to make a book here. Like, what's any of this got to do with it? There's no one answer. There's no one way of doing it, but there's no denying the reality that Mo is pointing out here. Some campaigns you can tell will take a minor miracle or a genuine miracle to fund. Phil says, is this the Jack Show? No, this is clearly not the Jack Show. It's the CG Jacks of all trades, episode 4. I mean, how could you get that confused, Phil? I don't even understand. By the way, Phil, I finished Lost Pages. Once I get my internet back, because I need 2 cables in here to do the deep dive. We'll do a deep dive, and yeah, it'll be good. Great book. Let's go. Mo says, come on guys, let's break the curse of the forehead and help a couple of these campaigns fund. Indeed. I mean, some of them will take a miracle though. Jaro, how many shows do you do a week, Bancroft? I do 3 shows. I mean, I didn't want to do, I'm doing this one today in exchange for the late night show, which I normally do today, but I just didn't because I had a lot of work on personally, and then there was just so much. I didn't want to stream up against both John and Ethan at the same time. One of them is enough, and I was like, I didn't have a guest, so I was like, do I really want to just chat to the chat to like 20 people?
Yeah.
When we'll do it later, and we get 40 people in here. And I'll also get back to videos as well once I get my internet back. Anton says, unless the creator is a name, asking for more than 10,000 on a first campaign is imprudent. We have Jeremy Burtz in the house and Jaro. Well, I was answering Jaro's
Well,
question
so
there.
like, what was it? Antoine who said that? Unless the creator is a name, asking for less than 10K on a first campaign is imprudent.
More than 10K.
Oh, more than 10K. Sorry. Yeah, it's tough because it's like, well, you want to fund, but at the same time, you want to come off reasonable. And so it's, you know, there's a lot of guys who I think, you know, they put something out there. Here's another issue, right? Let me rework this here. Sometimes these guys come out and they have these like ridiculous stretch goals. And it's like, let's worry about getting the book funded before we worried about your 30K stretch goal, bro. Because, you know, there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen. And it's like, that's good that you look confident, but it almost looks cocky and arrogant. And I don't even know if I'm convinced enough to back the book to begin with. And now I'm worrying about you getting 400 other backers to meet some stretch goal. Like, that's not, it doesn't instill success in your campaign. If anything, it's the opposite. It makes it kind of come off like you don't know what you're doing or what you're talking about, and that you're
It's the number one piece of advice I give to anyone.
Yeah, it's just like, don't put that up there. You don't know.
Yeah,
you have no idea.
don't.
Worry, and you don't need to worry about it. Do 1 stretch goal. Do 10 grand. You know, do 3 grand. If you really
don't. You can put on. Hey, I would love to. I don't know. Make the cover have a UV spot, or I would love to do this or that or whatever. And you can have them on there, but don't attach a number to it because you don't know. 10,000 might be completely off the cards for you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I say that all the time. And then there's the opposite thing where it's like, if you blast through a stretch goal, that's just a waste. The stretch goals, you're going to need them throughout your campaign when, you know, it's going to be hard to get people to come and look at what you're
Think
look at what you're
about it.
doing.
You know, we were playing Mario 3, you know, we have at the bottom, we have that tab and has all of the shit that we've collected. You know, we got a star and we got a Tanuki suit, whatever. Those are your stretch goals, right? You don't want to use them right away. You got to wait. You got to pace it out. And then eventually you're like, all right, level 8. I need the Tanuki suit now, right? I need the hammer suit. I need the P-wing, whatever. Use it sparingly and at the right time. If you use it all ahead, it doesn't mean anything. And if people see that you have 100 of them when you start, they're not going to be interested in you playing the game because they don't know when you're going to use them or if you're going to need them at all. So I would just like, yeah, keep it quiet until you need it and then take it out when you have to use it. Doing it any other way, I think, is just a recipe for disaster.
Antoine Dennison says, yep, they're putting the cart before the horse with all these high stretch goals for toys. I admire the ambition, but please focus on what's in front of you. Lol. I mean, it's the number one piece of advice I give to everyone. So, like, if they say, can you check out my campaign? And I see they've got all their stretch goals listed. I'm like, get them off there.
Yeah.
They're not helping you in any way. All right. So this is a campaign from a guy called Brandon Smith. I've seen him in the chat a couple of times now. And he shared this with me. It's called Mountain Hollow Action and Horror Comics. And straight away, I just saw it. It's like, this guy's got 71 backers. I mean, for a first timer who I haven't really seen him around all that much, like, that's actually pretty impressive. And if we look here, his entry level is $10 on the digital, and he's raised $2,000 US, but his goal is 25,000. And yeah, straight away, I was just like to the dude, I'm like, cool. You know, you got your book up, you got it out there. That's a really high goal. And I understand completely, that's how much it costs to make the book. I get it. I know how much it costs to make books. Here's the issue though. This is a really tough sell for a backer. Like, real hard. Like, people are going to come in this, they don't know who you are. They have no idea who Brandon Smith is. They have no idea what Mountain Hollow is. So there's no prior connection to it. And all they're going to see is this massive gray bar. And they're going to, even if they really like the look of it, they'll just always go back and go like, I don't even know if this is going to fund. On top of that, he's got it set as a flexible goal, which means the campaign will receive all funds, even if it doesn't reach its funding goal, which is like, that's a straight up no for a lot of people. Like, no.
Yeah, because that to me means nothing. That means that you're going to take my money and run. Because if you don't hit that, then you can just say like, well, we'll do the best we can. Maybe you'll get your book, maybe you won't. But, you know, we didn't hit our stretch goals or our funding goal. And, oh, well, like, you know, it's just like, let's say he gets to half of that, right? So let's say he gets to 12 grand. I mean, that's a lot of cash.
12 grand is massive for a first timer.
And then he doesn't,
as far as I'm aware, without a show.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, well, he could get to 20,000.
I know. I mean, yeah.
And then it's like, yeah. So this the whole thing. I mean, the whole system here is built on trust. You know, really. So what's happening out there is that a lot of creators are putting their own cash. I'm pretty sure Kimasabi has announced this publicly. He's put in over 5 figures into his company men book of his own money to get it made so that he could have a smaller funding goal. And, you know, people might say, well, that's sort of against the point of crowdfunding. Yes and no, but the point is, how are you going to compete? How are you going to compete? Like, just say all things were considered equal and that your comic is as appealing as everyone else's out there, if your backing goal is 25,000 and other people's are 3,000, it's like this where the backers are going to go.
Yeah.
They're going to go onto the one that they sort of know as best as they can know is going to be fund, well, it has funded. So this is just sort of strapping a boulder to your ankle as you try and climb up the mountain of crowdfunding from the get-go. So it is it's and again, I understand it's 100% a catch-22. This is how much it's going to cost to make. How you got to raise that to make it. How are you going to get there unless you can, get out there and get sales?
I think the answer is unless you have done something really fantastic to make yourself stand out, whether that's you're a YouTube e-celeb, whether you're getting a notoriety around you for doing something, whatever it is, we've talked about it. You're just going to have to eat. You're just going to have to eat the first book. You just have to do it for free. Yeah. You have to draw it. You have to write it, color it, whatever. If it costs you 10 grand, costs you 10 grand. Get it out there, set your goal low, and get it out there and eat it. And say like, all right, well, we only made 4 grand on this. We only made 5 grand on it. But it's out there, and then you build, and you build, and you build. When I'm using a lot of video game analogies, but like when you play an RPG, you don't go for the boss. You don't go after the boss with the 10K hits. You go for the little fucking loser bosses, right? The ones that have, a couple hundred HP. So like, that's what you need to do. You need to like build, you need to grind, you need to spend your time building up your character, and then you fight the mini bosses, and then you move your way up. A lot of these guys, they want to start with $50,000 campaigns. It's like, that's just not going to happen. And not for nothing, but you're kind of stupid to think that you should. It's just like, no, moderation is a good thing. It's good for everyone. Because like, you're going to learn a lot on that first campaign. You're going to learn about stamps.com. You're going to learn about how to talk to backers. You're going to learn about how to do updates. Like there's other stuff that you don't know yet, and you don't know what you don't know. So you need to take it step by step. I mean, the last thing I would want to do is give my money to someone who's never had a campaign before, and they make 100 grand. And I'm like, shit. I mean, fucking, your book's printed backwards. It's just like, well,
so many bad things have happened. Well, you just don't get it.
Yeah.
Like that's happened so many times. It doesn't happen all the time, but it definitely does happen. And I just, when you were saying that, like I can think of so many people who have done exactly what you said. Rob Arnold is one of them. Go look at the review of Rob Arnold's first book, and he kind of scraped and scrounged to be able to get together a pretty sort of basic book to get it out there and put it into the world. And then he built on that to sort of start production on his second one. I think he ended up with like 96 backers or something like that on his first book, which is not far off what we've got here on this one, which is 71, but that was fully funded. So there's sort of the difference. There was also Commie Mark is a guy who he put out sort of joke books using public domain art so that he could just, like there were always going to be just tiny campaigns. It wasn't what he wanted to do, but it was his sort of getting his foothold and getting a bit of a readership going and showing that he can fulfill and all that sort of stuff. And you build it that way. Just coming out of the gate and asking for 25,000 on your first book, it's really ambitious. And unless you have, like you said, unless you're Anna, that Star Wars girl, or you're, a big name pro from even if you are a big name pro from the industry, that like sometimes they don't make it either. Antoine Dennison for 2 thoughts on creators using pseudonyms and avatars. It doesn't bother me, but I know it does bother a lot of people, but it does kind of lead into the whole trust issue. And people have different ideas on that. I remember the internet when everyone was a pseudonym or an avatar, and it worked just fine, but I get it. I understand it. And can I just say hello to Watermelon Platypus, who is happy to be here, says good to be part of Comicsgate, and says, why doesn't the next guy who has a good book put his book on Twitter before selling it? Look, there's lots of different ways of doing it. The
What do you
point
mean by
is,
put it on Twitter? Like put it on for free?
I'll put it on the internet, I guess, or like promote it. I don't know. I don't quite exactly know. Maybe Watermelon Platypus can expound. The point being, there's lots of different ways to sort of become known. Camel just talked like how he and I did it for ourselves. Other people are doing it in other ways, but yeah, this is going to be a really tough sell for this guy, and it's like I want to get guys onto the show so that I can give them a bigger platform than they otherwise would have. But at the same time, I worry like, all right, we've done this a bunch of times. Even if you get some backers, 10 backers, it's not going to make a dent in the goal. You really need like hundreds. And where are they going to come from? That's the problem.
I think the other thing too is, like, okay, so you might think that I wouldn't even say it's arrogant to ask for 25 grand, although it kind of is. But it comes off to me as like you're stupid. Like you don't know how to run a business.
Well, I don't want to say that. I don't know the guy. It comes up to me.
I'm not
say
saying
ignorant.
specifically him, but like generally, like if
I would say you're ignorant of how it works here in crowdfunding.
Yeah, stupid is a harsh word, but ignorant.
I had some interaction with the guy on DMs. I obviously don't want to like get into that what was said, but essentially the sort of vibe it was, well, other people are doing similar things. It's like, yes, but who are they? What are their histories? What does their book look like? All this sort of stuff. Like how big are they? Do they have YouTube channels? And how often are they funding? There's a lot of variables that go into this. So Tohair says, people trust me because I use my Christian name. I don't know if you see that what his first part of his name is there. Watermelon says,
my mom called me.
It was just like my mama named me. There are over 400 Comicsgate books. Why not promote your book by putting it online for free, then sell it, then sell the next one? Well, because these things are really expensive to make, I'd say. I think most people, what they do is if they put that money up front, just say a book costs $10,000-$15,000 to make. They come up with that money up front somehow, and then they do a campaign so that they can at least make back hopefully $5,000 or $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
And they put the stretch, the funding goal is like 3,000 or something like that. And and at least then there's a hope that maybe it will take off, and some of them have. How much did you make on yours, Camel?
54,000.
54,000. I made 45,000. So it does happen. It can happen. We had Reaper Destroyer. He put up a ton of investment, says 6 days to someday. And what a payoff. Yeah. So I don't know what he invested, but absolute crap ton of money. Probably well into the 20. I think it was close to 30,000. I mean, huge amounts of money he invested, but it paid off. I mean, he'd done a lot of other legwork as well. He ended up making, I think it's over 55,000 or something like that now. So like these can happen, but there's usually a spark that allows it to happen as well, other than just the comic. Dying Day's classic mistake before he launched. He should have just taken a moment to become Eric July. Exactly. Just
that hard.
That's exactly
Go
it.
back to 07, start over.
Yeah.
No, I'll say this though, and it is, I wouldn't say it's overlooked, but getting in on the ground floor of something is very, very important. I think about, the guys in the 60s who were getting in on comics, or the 70s. It was, God, they would have hired anyone with a pencil. I mean, and yeah, you had to be good, but they were willing to teach you, the Marvel way or DC way or whatever it was. And forget about it now. I mean, unless you're,
They wouldn't have
chick of the
hired
month.
Kirby now.
No,
Like,
no, they
when he
wouldn't have.
started.
No. And
He's-
so, but he got in on the ground floor. Same with Stan Lee. Stan Lee didn't even want to write comics. He ended up just kind of doing it. And you look at any industry, the guys who get on the ground floor, those are the ones who become legends in that field. And I started to recognize right before like Fandom Menace stuff that like, okay, YouTube is going to be really big. And so that's why I tried to get in with Double Toasted, right? Because I was like, all right, that is an avenue to get my celebrityism out there and try to get known amongst, a certain amount of people. I mean, obviously, I'm not nearly as high up as someone like Eric July or anything like that, but it's a very slow build. And, maybe one day I'll get to a point where I have, I don't know, 1,000 people watching Camel Nights per episode. That'd be pretty awesome. And it happened for Cecil, and Cecil only started a couple of years before me. So, like, the stuff is doable. It's just you have to realize that there is a point of entry. And if you come in after that, even if it's just a little bit, man, that gate goes up. It goes up so high and so fast, and that you really have to work triple or quadruple time to try to catch up to the people who only started a couple years.
That is
before
true,
you.
yeah.
And so
That
if
is
you
true.
don't, go ahead.
Yeah, you have to. No, I was just reiterating what I said. You have to work harder.
Yeah.
Like that's exactly true. Like you got guys like Cecil and John and Kelsey will load up a stream and just do similar sort of thing where they're just talking about stuff that they're interested in and random stuff, and they'll get 1,000 people watching because they were
Right.
there at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then anyone who tries to do the same thing now and call their show, I don't know, like CG Jacks or something, like it's going to be harder for them to get 1,000 people watching their show. Yeah.
The other option is you try to think ahead about what's coming down the pike and be like, all right, well, what's going to be big tomorrow? How do I get in on the future of whatever that industry is? And then try to attach yourself to that. Right now, I don't know what that is. I don't think it's anything. I think we're going to limp along with this for the next 5 to 10 years until something else happens. But, when I definitely saw that podcasting and YouTube streaming was a thing, I was like, all right, well, that's clearly the future, and it's difficult because everyone and their mother can do it. I mean, my wife literally started a channel where she just talks about malls. That's all she does. It's like she already has hundreds of views. She's only put up 3 videos. So it's like, but it separates. If you can find something that separates you enough, if you're in your own sort of microcosm, then hopefully, you can be successful at it.
Watermelon asks, how do you stand out? And is that if you're excellent, and if you're on Twitter and YouTube, you're still in the CG market? I'm not sure what that's in reference to. Is that they're having a discussion about putting a comic up on Twitter and YouTube? It's an interesting idea. I think some people are doing it. I don't think it's knocking people's socks off, but maybe that's because it's the comic. I don't know.
Rob says about malls. MALLS, not moles. Idiot.
Abandoned mall vids are interesting. I have watched some of them.
Yeah,
I like abandoned.
She drives to these malls, and like especially the ones that haven't been renovated in like 20 years, and they're like decaying, and there's like 2 stores open. Yeah, she'll do a whole tour of it, and then give you. And it's funny, I have to teach her a little bit about editing, and it's a learning curve, but she's getting there. It's getting pretty good.
You're gonna have to send me a link to that so I can check some of them out, because I do watch this guy who goes into abandoned Russian anything, like some old mansions or underground bunkers or whatever, and he finds some pretty cool stuff down there. Mo says, I'm thinking of leaving copies of ARO in abandoned malls for those explorer types to find free promotion.
What's ARO?
The AR-15 orangutan.
Oh.
Bancroft and Camel love abandoning people like me. Rob, we don't have to do everything together. Don't be so clingy.
Come on, Rob. You
God.
guys have your own show. If anything, me and Rob should have a show without Bancroft. Turn the tables on him.
Did you ever watch The Young and the Restless?
No, unfortunately.
Never watched The Young and the
future
Restless.
references are going to go right over my head.
I'm not going to give you any references. I want to show you something. Check this out. Hey,
Is this how that show started?
it's the intro. Hang on, there's a guy at the end. Whoa.
Ooh.
This guy.
Marty!
Hello there. Come in. Look at what we have.
Nothing.
Now,
There's
okay,
nothing
you've
to show
seen
you.
that. You've seen that. Check this out. I've got to stop sharing. It's the intro to The Young and the Restless.
Was that on purpose?
This is really loud. I don't know. But that's it, isn't it? I mean, it's
The same exact. It must be. It was too much of a coincidence, right? They're not that clever.
It's unbelievable. Like
I had an interesting conversation with Crackhead Jeremy, and I was talking about Lord of the Rings, and I was like, I don't get Lord of the Rings. I don't particularly like Lord of the Rings, and let me tell you why. I find that the characters are too goofy for the seriousness of the story. And so it's a weird juxtaposition for me. Like with Game of Thrones, like everything's hardcore, everything's real deal, and everything seems like it's, the debauchery is kind of taken up a notch. And so I wonder when I see this, I'm like, well, who is this for? Is it for like people who are slightly like normies who are interested in sword and sorcery? Like, is that a thing? Is that a demographic? I mean, like, I don't know. It's just, it's very weird. And then you show me this Young and the Restless intro, and I'm like, again, who is this? Is this for moms? Is it for like 30-something girls, women? I don't know. It's
the exact same issue that we've been having in the comics. Who is this for? Who's buying this? Who's watching it? And it's just this is the whole thing. This is the whole thing. What shows are really popular and what shows aren't? And from where I'm sitting, it all comes down to which shows are self-aware and which shows aren't.
Yeah.
So you've got shows that are super self-aware. Cobra Kai. What's another?
Is it that my best friend Felipe? He was the best man at my wedding. He loves that show. He keeps telling me to watch it, and I just haven't started. Is it really that good?
Oh yeah. It's like it knows exactly what it is. It knows exactly when it's being made and who it's for, and it just hits all the right points because it's like it's based, but it knows that it's made in a woke world.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, I gotta watch it.
Yeah. There's so many other shows too that I like. There's another one that's very similar called Mythic Quest. That's exactly the same. Very self-aware shows. When the more self-aware the show is, so it knows what it is and who it's made for, and the sort of zeitgeist, they're really popular.
Yeah.
These shows that are completely tone deaf, they don't know who it's for. They're made for the phantom audience of, you know, yeah. Your guess is as good as mine. Who this is made, who this appeals to. Like, let's have all these. Like, that's supposed to be Elrond. That's supposed to be friggin' Agent Smith from what's his name, the Australian actor.
Okay, so is
Hugo
it
Weaving.
is it the same world?
What is this?
Is it a prequel?
Yes, it's the same world. Yes.
Oh, but, no, but I mean, like, okay, so am I supposed to watch
doing?
this as the official prequel to The Hobbit and then The Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
I am. Okay.
I mean, I'm pretty sure. Although that leaves an interesting conundrum. It's like, where did all the black people go if that's the case? Did the elves slaughter them all? Like, what happened?
We're done with you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, they were all here and now they're not anymore. That's these questions. Why is this guy's ears so fat? Anyway, look at this doofus.
Hello.
Look at this
He looks
doofus.
like a Doctor Who, you know, like.
Yeah, like I would see that on Star Trek Next Generation.
What is it about?
Yeah, they go to a planet. They go to a planet, and for some reason, it's like set in Shakespearean times. And they're like, oh, there was a satellite that got, and they received Shakespeare, and then they've modeled their entire civilization on 15th century England, and you know that's the sort of shit that would happen.
What is it about Star Trek and Doctor Who that they got these actors that all look like, you know, clown goblins to be in every single role? You're like, all right, it must be like, you know, the transfer of, the Shakespearean actor who, you know, made it onto these network shows.
Oh, Jess was being cruel. He says, hey, that's Dojo Kun. I'm just trying to look at him with a little bit. I'm covering up his hair with my thumb. I
don't think I know what Dojo looks like.
Oh, he's got his own TV show, his own channel. I've seen him out there. Yeah, but it's like it's just a real thing. These shows, they have like the comics. They have no idea who they're for. They clearly have a agenda. Oh, it's the Sandman as well. Like, I'm still getting comments from people who were like, you're a homophobe. You don't want any gay people in TV shows or whatever. It's like, can you not? I don't think, and it's another thing. I think a lot of people are just dumb. They have an IQ that doesn't allow them to be able.
Really?
They're not able to conceptualize certain concepts, right? So in a show like Sandman, okay, you're just walking around the world. Every second person you bump into randomly in the world, you say you bump into 100 people and 60 of them are gay, right?
Okay.
The conclusion you come to, the assumption you make is that is representative of the entire planet. There must be, 60% of the entire world is gay, right? It's not just I happen to randomly bump into this really gay part of the world and I was just really super lucky. Yeah. And I think a lot of people can't grasp that. They don't understand that. They're like, why do you have a problem against gay people? It's like, no, don't you understand the implications of this, of what it's saying, and how that makes you go, how does that even work? And then all of a sudden you're thinking about some weird thing that you shouldn't be thinking of when you're supposed to be watching a Sandman movie, a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't think they can.
Well, I don't think they can
physically think like that.
Yeah. And then once you lose that suspension of disbelief, it's just like, what am I watching? This sucks.
Exactly. and they come to me in the comments like, oh, what if it was set in a gay bar? Well, if it was set in a gay bar, that would be completely different, wouldn't it? If it was set in a gay bar and you would expect almost 100% gay people in there, but that wouldn't imply that the rest of the world was gay. And
no,
I don't know why people can't grasp this, but they can't. Oh, Jack Show.
No,
Raid.
no,
Jack
here's the
Show
thing.
raiding the Jacks.
Oh,
The
great.
CG Jacks.
Um,
Trademark.
the reason they get upset is because you're exposing the naked truth that they don't want to admit to. It's the same people who don't want to, deal with the fact that Adele has gotten thin, because then it proves that they can get thin. And so when you expose it, you're exposing it as blatantly as possible. And so their first instinct is to point their fingers and screech and say, like, you're the problem. And it's like, no, you're the problem, because you can't see anything. You can't, it's like you can't see the forest for the trees here. And so, yeah, they're going to act like in a visceral way.
You could very rightly argue. Now, hang on. If this is set in the same world as Lord of the Rings, where were all these characters? I'm guessing that's, I don't know what he is there. Like I think that they're the half foot hobbits, which, I don't know if Tolkien described or just some other author described them as nut brown in color. But he didn't describe them as black. I'm pretty sure he didn't describe any other black dwarfs or elves or anything like that in the books. But now the point being, though, and it's the point being, when you get to Lord of the Rings, they're not there. So, like, this is actually a valid thing. Are they going to have some sort of race war in Rings of Power to make this make sense? Of course, they're not. They're just going to ignore it.
I don't think they'll even get to a second season. I think it'll collapse.
CMO.
I think go ahead. Bye, Bo. I think we're gonna very easily look back. Be like, hey, remember Obi-Wan? Oh, that sucked. Remember She-Hulk? Remember Lords of Rings or whatever this stupid thing is? Yeah, it's all going to be trash. It's just going to be like, that was the woke era, and we're just going to ignore it. And I think that, it's I don't want to say it's not worth talking about, but it's not worth digging into the dirt here. Try to like come up with some great reasoning.
Just rolling around in the mud.
It's like whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's a loser show for losers, and no one's gonna care in 6 months and whatever. Yeah.
I'm gonna do.
What's that?
I'm gonna do a video on it. Not on this, on an article which has, I think, some pretty good tiebacks to Comicsgate and Gamergate and all this. It's sort of like more like tactics, shutdown tactics, because they're saying that this is being review bombed, but at the same time, the other show, House of the Dragon, isn't.
Yeah,
and there's black people in that as well, and they're saying the reason it's being review bombed is because they have included black characters in this. So where's the disconnect there? But they're using the exact same playbook that they've used with Comicsgate and other sort of online, what would you call it, movements or whatever. She-Hulk as well. Anytime there's critique, they're getting review bombed by ists and phobes and everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not going to watch the show. I'm
You're not?
That
For real?
What?
No, I mean, I think about, I'm going to save it for tomorrow. A friend sent me an article from the New York Post. We're going to read it on Camel Nights. And it talks about not New York Post, Washington Post, which is pretty left-leaning. And it talks about, the crisis happening on streaming services with all of these shows getting canceled and shit canned. I'll read it again. I don't think it mentions Zaslav once. It does mention HBO Max, and it goes into all of the cancellations and it's really hurting people. And it's just like, yeah, leave it to the Washington Post to be upset about jobs in the entertainment industry. It's like, how fucking elitist can you get? And, it doesn't really get into the crux of the issue, which is a lot of this entertainment is shit. It's woke garbage and nobody wants it. And that's, why it's getting let go. And so if you're not paying attention to that part of the conversation and you're reading this article, you're like, oh, wow, it's really it's really a an issue we got to consider. We got to it's our culture is getting taken away by bean counters. It's like no. I'm sorry. Someone's actually standing up to the fact that for the last 5 years it was swaying off of a cliff, and that there were millions and millions of people who were leaving streaming services because they didn't want to watch it anymore. But yeah, I'll bring that up tomorrow because I think it's definitely kind of folds into what we're talking about here.
You can't set your Netflix to kids because there's a kids version of Netflix which is supposed to block out things that are inappropriate for kids. You can't do that and just let your kids watch it anymore. I mean, that is whose ever decision it was for that to happen is, they've cost that company untold millions of dollars, probably hundreds of millions of dollars, because now I'm like anything on that thing. I'm like, I need to check this out. We don't know what sort of agenda it is. Victoria watched a movie. It was all about periods. It was like gross and weird and had a massive agenda. There was another show like a cartoon where there were like, it was all like gender neutral stuff and everything. So you can't just let them watch anymore. So they've really screwed the pooch. Like they did go too far, and now they're going to pay for it with people who will either just going to turn off their accounts altogether, or are going to really like pull back on what they allow people to watch, allow their kids to watch.
In a way, though, I mean, you could make an argument that it's almost simpler. It's almost, you could make an argument that it's an easier time, because when there's so much to watch and so much of it is crap, you end up watching none of it. And as a result, you either go back to the stuff you like and you appreciate it more, or when you do get a good movie, you're like, well, that was good. Man, I haven't seen a good, like, that Maverick movie, the Top Gun. Everyone loves that movie. It was like, wow, they made a real movie. Every now and then, me and my wife will see, like, we loved that new Batman movie. My wife was like, that was so good. I was like, yeah, I haven't seen a real movie, like a movie in so long. And it's just like, I think when you do get them, it's just like, wow, that's, it's good. It's nice to know that they're still out there. Every so often, one kind of breaks through. It's a shame they always have to be these major $1 million blockbuster, experiences. But every so often you get one that's, it's like, okay. Because, when everything is woke garbage. I mean, we were watching The Boys. We hard quit. I was like, I'm done. And it wasn't even woke. It was just boring. I was so bored. And it moved into this storytelling that was used to be reserved for soap operas. And so for those of you who don't know, a soap opera would set itself up so that time would not elapse. So you would have a scene that would go on for two characters for the duration of the episode. So you'd have two people in a bar, two people in a bedroom, two people in a living room, two people in a car. And every time you cut back to them, they're still in those places, still having that same conversation. And that's where The Boys ended up. And I was like, all right, so this show is not about anything anymore. Now it's just a soap opera, and, it's just people arguing. And I was like, I'm done with this. This sucks. This is a shitty show. I don't know why people like it so much, but I'm like, it's boring. It's a boring show. And I think that,
Alex
yeah.
So season 1 was good. 2 was trash. I watched 1 episode and I was like, not good for me.
We quit at 2, John. We got this episode 2 of season 2, and I was like, the dude's fucking talking to his fucking gills. I was like, I was like, all right, we're done with this. This is terrible. So
yeah, people agree with you. I'm like, I'm not. It's not my kind of show. I just don't. I don't know. Genuine Comics says, I'm amazed how many years of franchise deconstruction and fan bashing it takes before people will finally walk away. Some never will. Well, Victoria was born in 2012. She watches Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Malcolm in the Middle, and Modern Family. Like, they're the shows
all
she likes.
20-year-old or 30-year-old shows.
Yeah. She doesn't watch anything new. She's watched
I-
some new things, but
Yeah.
now that she's a bit older and she's been exposed to good stuff,
Yeah.
she doesn't watch that stuff, like the new stuff anymore.
I follow a couple of Twitter groups that just post like Batman movie stuff, like from the Keaton era. And it occurred to me that the younger generation now looks at that stuff the way our generation looked at the TV show. And it was like, there's such a huge, departure. But it's like the younger generation now watches the Keaton stuff with admiration, whereas we used to watch the Adam West stuff as being like, it's still kind of goofy, it's kind of cheeseball. But it's interesting how many people are like really gravitating towards that. Like, yeah, Batman '89. They, people in their 20s know all the lines and they're totally all about it. And it's cool to think that something like that can stand the test of time and thrive, especially now when so much of the content out there is just total trash. And it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing they got rid of that Batgirl movie. I mean, it was going to be hot garbage. You knew it was going to be hot garbage. There was no way it couldn't have been. It was just like, yeah, you know what? We don't.
But can you imagine how bad it must have been in today's world with all these just god awful movies? Like, it must have been an absolute turd fire.
I imagine at some point it probably had Michael Keaton crying or getting his ass kicked or having Batgirl save him from getting his head blown, like some ridiculous absurdity to make him completely cucked and her as like some standing, power over the city or some bullshit. And I think it would have ruined the character. It would have been like a Last Jedi thing, for Batman fans. And I think that was the intent going in. I think that 100% that was the intent going in.
Yeah, that's true. They've seen what The Last Jedi did to Star Wars. Like, it ruined all future Star Wars projects for a lot of people. Like, definitely for me, after The Last Jedi, like, I was already souring after, what was it? Force Awakens?
Yeah, I
was
never liked
already
that one
like,
either. I actually thought that was crap, but
yeah, I didn't enjoy it, but I was like, all right, I feel pretty much the same as I did when I watched the prequels.
Right.
Nothing will ever live up to the originals, and I just wish they made extended universe stuff. But okay, all right. After I saw The Last Jedi, it was like that whole part of me that cared about Star Wars died. Like, sorry, anything new just died. To the point where I actually got taken to the third one and enjoyed it because I didn't care. I just couldn't care less.
At that point,
it's like bombs
sure.
and explosions and lightsabers and like I just completely checked out. And that, like, they were probably worried, like, wait, man, we could do this to Batman. If DC lost Batman in the same way that Disney lost
Luke Skywalker.
Star Wars like that,
Yeah.
or Skywalker, like, yeah, that would be that's all they have.
And then and then they did it again with Obi-Wan. I mean, they literally did the exact same thing with Obi-Wan. It was like Obi-Wan was he was safe. His arc had started and finished. And they were like, nah, let's put some middle shit in there. And they put the middle shit in there and they totally
messes with everything.
Loser. Yeah. And like you saw it with just a little bit. You saw it with the Batman when Catwoman says that thing about white people. And then it's like the internet exploded over one line. So you figure Zaslav is like, well, get the fuck out of here. We're not doing this. What, we're going to go full retard now? And then it's like, no, I mean, you're just throwing money down the drain. And it probably was worth it to have it as a write-off. Like, well, hey, it's better than losing a beloved legacy character. And especially Michael Keaton, the Sean Connery of Batman. Like, yeah, what a terrible, terrible idea.
Yeah, if you like cucked him and humiliated him,
yeah,
then that is a stain on 89 Batman.
Right, forever. Yeah.
Rob, I can't show anything on Netflix because it has you can't share Netflix. There's like a block on it. Like it won't share.
I've seen the
It's got
Catwoman
black
movie.
screen.
It's terrible.
Is there a Netflix cat? Is there a new cat? Like, what is this? I don't know.
Oh,
what it is.
yes, there is. I know what he's talking about. It's a cartoon movie. We showed a clip of her accepting an award or something where she's like calling out, I don't know, diversity hires or I don't know, some bullshit. But
Let me
I'm
see
not
if
gonna
I can
watch it.
find something on Twitter. Is it Catwoman Lonely City? Is that what it is?
I think so.
Is there a video? I don't think you can share. I don't think you can actually share Netflix. It won't let you.
I wouldn't anyway.
No, I
That sounds
can't
like a
find
channel
it.
killer. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I know nothing about Catwoman anyway. Is that Mel? I've got to go in. Kids are starving. We're having a homemade hamburgers. So probably we've been 2.5 hours. I think that's pretty good. I think we had a good conversation. I was happy we could fit in another
Do something.
CG Jacks.
Thanks for
I
watching,
like
everyone.
these shows. I like these shows.
Yeah,
Next one we do, episode 5, will be on camels whenever that happens.
Whenever that happens, Andy Smith wants to pop on. And I thought it was applicable just because he does seem to do everything himself.
Yeah.
But, it won't be a consistent thing. It'll just be, he just wants to come on and I think push his book for a minute. So I said, that's fine.
I had our campaigns up, but
we're at 365 emails. So moving up. Got a couple emails yesterday.
I had them. You know what I did? I closed them down when I doxed our DMs with that link I had.
Yeah, so when we set up a next thing, we'll have to come up with it a day or so ahead so I can let Andy know. But I told him next time we did it on my channel, I'd send him a link.
All right. So Boots and Heels is launching October 14th.
Friday.
Right, yeah?
All day.
Which is Camel's 40th birthday. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be massive. It's going to go off. How much did you say? 350 signups?
365 so far.
365.
And we sent out 250 packets with flyers. So let's see, everyone will start getting those come Monday probably. So we'll see if we see a bump in the emails around that time. But yeah, it's going to be great. We're going to have 4 issues. You're going to get them all at once. You're not going to have to wait. They're not going to be sent out separately. And we're even going to have a Camel Knights lunchbox perk that comes with a t-shirt, a Saxy Camel standee, Ivory Tower membership club card, a bunch of other stuff.
I want that.
It's going to be cool. It's going to be very cool. So, yeah, we'll get all that together for you guys. If you sign up for the email, you get that top cover as an option in hollow foil. Also, you'll get a link for the first 48 hours to get 20% off of the subscription box. And that is called the Boots and Heels shoebox set. And then it will come with everything in the campaign except for the Camel Knights merch.
Right on. Right on. And you are trying to get up to 500 signups before you go live. That is what he's shooting for. I think we can do it. The trajectory shows it'll happen. And plus, house sale will be getting into everyone's hands very soon. So that will add to it as well. I've put the link there in the chat. It's also in the description if you're watching this afterwards. Painted Death is going great. Looking at getting up to 1,000 signups to this book. I'm getting super excited about it because I'm inching closer day by day to finishing the art to the point where I'll be happy launching.
That's good.
And seeing it all come together is like, it's you do these things, like you do a bit here and there every day. You don't feel like you're doing much, but when you look back the week and you see how much you've accomplished, I'm feeling really good. The book is really coming together. I can't wait to share it with you guys. I shared with Rob yesterday what the whole red goo is in the pit, and he was like, "Oh, that's awesome! I love that." It's not even that really gets like discussed in Painted Death itself, but at least it's shown. The mystery is presented, and yeah, people have their own theories about that, and there's people that actually put their theories in the chat, and they've been pretty close to right. So I love that stuff. That's what it's all about for me. Sign up. You get your chance to win this exclusive. There'll only be 10 ever printed. Ella floating in the library covers. And yeah, good stuff all around. I have to go in. Mel is making her famous homemade hamburgers. I really don't want to miss out on that. So thank you all so much for watching. Thanks, Camel, for hanging out. And I will see you all later. Bye.
Night night.
What the hell am I looking at? When does this happen in the movie?
Now. You're looking at now, sir. Everything that happens now is happening now.
What happened to then?
We passed then.
When?
Just now. We're at now.
Go back to then.
When?
Now.
Now?
Now.
I can't.
Why?
We missed it.
When?
Just now.